I'm about to yap for 3 hours about some of the craziest and most interesting facts that there are in Gumball. And make sure you stick around, because the more we go on, the more obscure and interesting the facts get. Starting off by going over 123 of the coolest Gumball secrets that you didn't know about. Let's begin with Gumball himself. If you didn't know, Gumball actually has 6 whiskers, not 5. Most shots only show 5, but in the episode The Pressure, when he's crushed between Darwin and Masami at the lunch table, all 6 can be seen for a moment. Darwin can actually speak more than one language. In the episode The DVD, he spoke Chinese, and in the episode The Treasure, he switched it up and spoke French. Gumball has been 12 years old forever, as he has also admitted this in the episode The Kids, which means time simply doesn't move in Elmore. The Void is basically Elmore's hidden dumping ground. It's a strange, limbo-like place where characters and objects end up quietly after being labeled as mistakes, erased from reality without anyone really talking about it. Molly is one of them who is implied to have been sent to the Void. But before we continue with this next fact, if you're enjoying the video so far, make sure to subscribe. We're trying to hit 1 million subscribers before the end of the year. It means the world to me. Thanks, and back to the video. We all know that Nicole has a job. She actually works at a corporate place called the Rainbow Factory, even though the show rarely mentions it. And also, she received $950 a month from this Rainbow Factory job, and gets only 5 days off per year. Carrie's house can finally be seen for the very first time in the episode The Flower. Interestingly, Carrie has a lot of shoes on her shelf, despite not having any feet to wear them.
How many pairs of shoes do you need? You don't even have feet!
Gumball actually has arachnophobia, meaning that he's scared of spiders. As in the episode The Date, he completely panics when dealing with the Fitzgerald's pet spider, even though he still forces himself to face it. Most of us might not know that Gumball is incredible at skateboarding. In the episode The Ollie, we see him in action, but the funniest part is that he's only good when no one is watching. With fluency in more than one language, Darwin can also write or draw with both hands. In the episode The Dress, Darwin draws a sketch of Gumball using his left hand. However, he does other common tasks with his right hand, hinting that he may be ambidextrous. In the episode The Prank, a VHS tape labeled Wrestling appears. Richard later tells Nicole in the episode The Club that the tape originally contained their wedding video, but he recorded over it and named it Wrestling. However, Richard probably is just saying that to avoid getting in any trouble. Darwin usually doesn't wear any clothes, but in the episode The G, Darwin can be seen wearing pants for the very first time. Throughout the entire length of the episode The Refund, Richard's behavior is actually inspired off a real story from Ben Boclet's father, who grew stubble to look tough enough to demand a refund for a broken video game. While in the episode The Picnic, during the scene where Darwin takes out his lunchbox, he has pale yellow eyes. This is actually a leftover from his early design, where this was originally a permanent feature. Richard favors Darwin over his biological kids, and yes, he is admitted to this in the episode The Goons, but then immediately tries to take it back, obviously to avoid getting in trouble by other family members.
When we all know, in fact, that Darwin is my favorite. Fish! My favorite fish!
Richard has also been in prison many times due to his reckless and criminal behavior. He's also listed on Elmore's Most Wanted for being one of the city's least law-abiding citizens.
Richard Watterson has been revealed as Elmore's least law-abiding citizen.
Darwin and Anna share an Elmore Plus account, and the username for that account is HadDrinosaurs59. Nicole waxes often, yes, and in the episode The Mustache, Gumball is also mentioned this, which is interesting considering she's covered in fur. Anna Yeast actually had her own room, but she still shares a room with Gumball and Darwin.
Gumball, just get out of my room.
In the episode The Goons, Darwin is the ultimate winner of the dumb race, unless one counts Tobias's balloon flying to still consider him as a participant in the race. In the episode The Wand, Nicole's yearbook photo shows her maiden name starting with a G, but in the episode The Choices, it's later revealed that on her report card, her real maiden name is Senicourt. Also, Nicole Boclet, who is Ben Boclet's mother, shares the same maiden name. Miss Simeon has insulted Nicole in school multiple multiple times, and has also called her a loser her entire life. And because of this, Nicole utterly despises the word, along with Miss Simeon herself.
Nice first steps, loser! Nice cycling, loser!
Elmore is never officially placed on a map, but background details point straight to California. In the episode The Banana, there's a scene in Mr. Small's office where Darwin yells, "Yo!" And get this is the very first time Darwin was ever drawn with fingers.
Yo!
In the episode The Curse, in that scene where the Wilsons are seen at Daisyland, humans can clearly be seen in the reflection of Ticket Booth Class, letting the real world appear inside of Elmore. Gumball is actually allergic to makeup, and we can see this in the episode The DVD. When he takes a makeup test to earn some cash, his face immediately swells up. Oh yeah, and Penny and Leslie are actually cousins. The show never makes a big deal out of it, but it's officially a thing, and revealed in the episode The Flower. Hector is actually around 100 yards, meaning 300 feet tall. Yes, it's revealed in the episode The Colossus, and we know he's this tall because of when he fell on the football field. He matched it from end to end. In the episode The Copycats, Anais is the only Watterson without a copycat. The Copycat family is based on a Chinese Gumball ripoff, where Anais doesn't have a counterpart because of the one-child policy, and the family there clearly preferred having 2 sons instead of a daughter. In the episode The Apology, in the scene where Miss Simeon peers at Gumball and Darwin through a gap in the library shelf, the authors' names on the books are actually the show's animation staff members. By the way, most of us don't know that Miss Simeon's first name is Lucy. Nicole's cat breed may be Tabby, because when everyone turned into their live-action selves in the episode The Job, she turned into a tabby cat instead of turning into a blue cat. Anais's name has 2 different pronunciations in the show. It's usually pronounced according to the name's French origin, Anais, but it's occasionally pronounced according to the English phonics Anais instead, usually by Darwin and Granny JoJo in the earlier seasons. We all know about Nicole's temper, but she really does try to keep it under control and even joins an anger management club, yet she still cannot seem to control her temper when provoked. Among the Watterson family, Nicole Watterson is the only one who didn't encounter Rob. Nicole has been falsely arrested for some really weird reasons, like quote-unquote robbing a store with a hot dog wiener in the episode The Spoon, or quote-unquote stealing her own car in the episode The Flakers. In the amazing world of Gumball, spirits can be summoned by calling their name only 3 times. In the episode The Ghouls, Banana Joe summons Miss Candy by saying her name 3 times.
There's an urban legend that you can summon Mr. Candy. All you gotta do is say his name 3 times.
Sweet candy, candy, candy! Then you'll taste my sweet revenge!
If you look closely across seasons, Gumball himself changes too. In the earlier seasons, his eyes were more oval-shaped, but starting around season 3, they became fully round. Richard has a guitar string inside of his body due to falling down a ladder with a guitar that he sustained while trying to serenade Nicole outside of her parents' house when they were young adults.
Quick, Dad's coming.
I'm okay. Of course I remember. The doctor couldn't remove one of the strings.
One of the creepiest facts involves the van owner from the episode The Disaster. For years, many people thought he was just a shadow with eyes. It turns out he actually has a whole body, like he's living made of black smoke. And after that episode, we all realized that he's been hiding in every single opening scene since the very start of the show. He has always been there watching. Yeah, that's not comforting.
Same for you, buddy. That remote was $12.99.
Louie may look familiar, and that's because he's basically an aged, worn-out version of Mickey Mouse. Richard might be dumb, but he can speak Spanish fluently.
All night saving my seat for El Gran Final de la Casa de las Lágrimas.
Nicole originally wanted to be a painter. You heard that right, a painter. Something she was always bad at, but had to give up on it in favor of working to provide for her family. Such a thing has never been mentioned in the show, however. Then there's Donut Cop. Yes, he's a donut, but the thing is, he actually eats donuts, which means he's technically eating his own kind. mind. Look closely at cars in Elmore, and you'll notice something odd. Almost every vehicle has the same license plate number. The town looks diverse, but apparently not when it comes to car registration. During the scene in which Darwin crawls back to the Watterson family through different environments before growing legs, he passes through a place that looks exactly like Nowhere from Courage the Cowardly Dog. And the turtle, the family pet that no one trusts, when Richard bought that turtle, she was actually pregnant. Also, that turtle existed long before Darwin joined the family. Its legs were already sticking out of the same box Richard bought years earlier, meaning it's been around far longer than it should be. Nicole Watterson wasn't really ever meant to exist on screen. The original idea was that she would always be at work, never actually showing up, turning her into this almost invisible presence in the family, rather than the powerhouse mom we all know. Interestingly, in the earliest ideas, Richard Watterson was originally a skinny blue dog, before quietly being reshaped into something far more chaotic, a fat pink rabbit, with the show never really explaining why the switch happened. Richard's memory only works when he eats the same food. In the episode The Thing, this comes up when Nicole gives him an important task, and he tries to remember it by eating everything that he ate that day, and somehow it lets him rewind his memory to replay what happened. There's a silent clown that keeps showing up in the background of different episodes, like in The Procrastinators. But later on, it turns out he's actually a ghoul who lost his ability to scare. Miss Simeon has been alive for over 2 million years. She's been teaching for an absurd amount of time. Her career stretches back hundreds of thousands of years. There's a tiny spot on Richard's right side that Gumball somehow knows about, because whenever Richard falls asleep, that's exactly where Gumball likes to poke him.
Wake up!
Carrie has no reflection in mirrors, but when she possesses someone, her reflection replaces theirs instead. Tobias is able to change colors at will, and he displays this ability while talking to Gumball and Darwin from the bathroom stalls, and his family shares the same trait.
Colorful? Shakalaka-ding-dong.
Whoa!
A massive desert secretly surrounds Elmore, cutting it off from the rest of the world. Gumball's face is weirdly flexible. In the episode The Photo, Darwin straight up molds it into different poses, and other times it just goes completely floppy, like it has no bones at all.
Let me just,
Sussie's family is incredibly wealthy, as in the episode The Pony, her dad casually offers Gumball and Darwin $1,000 just to stay at the party, quietly revealing how rich they actually are. Penny is allergic to blueberries. The episode The Dream hints at this when she swells up after eating a blueberry cupcake, revealing that something sweet can literally be dangerous for her. In the episode The Tag, when Richard tells Gumball and Darwin to pull a prank he used to do in college, but then quickly corrects himself to say high school, this slip-up makes it clear that he never actually went to college. He just says it by accident and immediately tells the truth.
I need you to sneak into Mr. Robinson's house. There's this old prank I used to do in college.
College?
Okay, high school.
Richard had a special song named My Little Ones, reminding everyone that he's their dad.
I remember when you were still little. My little one.
Gumball and Darwin are in 7th grade. Even though Miss Simeon is often referred to as a 2nd grade teacher, it's due to the differences in the school systems. In the episode The Voice, the hair that Darwin grew is based off that of J.G. Quintel, who is the creator of Regular Show. William is a flying eyeball who no one can hear when he speaks. And in the episode The Internet, a product can actually be seen in the background named Cassito, which is actually named after a show writer, Gillimore Cassito. In the episode The Joy, Richard was actually very responsible for the outbreak of the Joy virus, since he gave Gumball and Darwin the infamous Wonder Hug. Richard actually has a Twitter account. Yes, in order to promote the show's launch in 2011, a Twitter account was created for Richard, where he would post random thoughts and ideas, as well as responding and interacting with users on the site. The episode The Puppy is based off Ben Booklet's pet turtle from his childhood, which tragically died after being left out in the sun and exposed to extreme heat. In the episode The Recipe, Gumball mentioned that they killed him 50 times, but Anton dies 12 times on screen in this episode. In The Recipe, Darwin casually lets slip that he thinks people are born in cabbage patches.
You know when you're born, right? Well, he did that, but in reverse. Ew. Who would want to go back to the Cabbage Patch with all that dirt and slugs and stuff.
Darwin, along with his predecessors and the evil turtle, is the only watersyn that is not a mammal of some sort. In The Rival, it was shown that Anais had sadistic tendencies when she was a newborn, and it even tried to harm Gumball and Darwin multiple times, although since then, she's mostly grown out of it. The same episode also shows that she learned how to sit, crawl, clap, draw, and speak at only a few days old. In The Burden, it's revealed that Darwin is possessive and fears being lonely. This would come up again in the episode The Roots, where he is angry at the rest of the family for abandoning him on a lake. Darwin was originally designed for a show where mythological animals hid in a child's backyard. When the show was not produced, Ben Boclet added Darwin to Gumball because he liked his design. The coach/gym teacher lied on her resume to secure a position at the school, which possibly means that she is not an athlete.
And I'm not a woman who can say she's never lied on her resume either.
Which about adds up, honestly, just by looking at her. Richard cannot hold a job, literally. In the episode The Job, Richard maintaining a job goes against the laws of nature and causes the universe to be destroyed. Even in the episode The Painting, just getting to his workplace was a nightmare. The building itself wouldn't let him in. Elevators crushed him, and by the time he got to his floor, he was already fired. Basically, if Richard actually did have a job, the world might collapse. Rocky can actually whistle in a very strange way with his butt.
I can whistle with my butt.
Talking about allergies, Darwin is allergic to feathers. Richard Watterson uses password as his computer password, highlighting his lack of digital security.
The password is password.
Darwin has the ability to communicate with rodents and other animals. Gumball is just a nickname. His real name turns out to be Zat, but by the end of the episode The Name, he legally changes it back to Gumball. Darwin's pretty athletic. He can run as fast as Gumball and Anais, and he's a great swimmer and climber as well, because, you know, being a fish isn't enough. Darwin is able to scream at an extremely high-pitched volume, and it's so high that it can break the glasses of all the houses on a block.
You have won this antique crystal decanter worth over 10,000.
In some preview pictures, Anais has whiskers like the rest of the family, except Darwin, but in the show, she does not. This was likely a late change that the creators made for an unknown reason, possibly to make her look younger or cuter. Gumball has 24 friends on Elmore Plus, which matches with the total amount of Gumball's classmates, except for Hector, as Gumball may still have not accepted his friend request. In the episode The Night, it turns out Tobias has a thing for Penny too, which makes things a little complicated since Gumball likes her as well, making this in some ways a full-on love triangle.
Good morrow, fair maid.
Nice tights.
Why, thank you.
Anais is medically classified as a cephalopod because Gumball stuffed stones in her pockets out of fear that she'd grow taller than him.
And I put stones in your pockets when you were a baby because I was scared you'd grow taller than me, which is why you're medically classified as a cephalopod.
In the episode The Downer, Gumball tries to cheer himself up with a song on TV, but his bad mood comes right back. But here's the interesting part. Gumball drops a hint in the lyrics that he's allergic to pollen.
I love the scent of flowers, but so do all the bees and the pollen. Brings out my allergy.
Leslie is actually shown to have romantic feelings, but towards himself, as in the episode, he's seen kissing himself through self-pollination, and later acting romantically towards his clone.
Self-pollination, baby.
Darwin can hold his breath and exhale way longer than Gumball, as he does in the Elmore Stream It video called Gumball vs. Darwin Exhaling Contest. It probably has something to do with him starting as a fish and somehow keeping those underwater breathing skills even after growing legs. Anais is in a grade higher than Gumball and Darwin, so considering that Gumball and Darwin are in 7th grade, that means she's in 8th grade. Gumball can actually play the ukulele and sing well, as seen in the episode The Nights. Funnily, despite this, he's shown to be failing at music class, in the episode The Apology.
I want to study with your daughter.
Darwin has spent 5 years learning facial expressions, and he still has some trouble recognizing them. The abandoned-looking house that Gumball is in front of, while trying to scare away the moving couple, is located at 1021 York Street, Vallejo, California, which is located on the same street as the Watterson and Robinson homes. It also bears a striking resemblance to the Watterson house. Masami, the small white cloud, has legs. Yes, I know it's kind of weird, but what's even weirder is that she got socks from from Harry. The reason for the Watterson family's financial trouble was revealed in the episode The Treasure. The Wattersons used to have a ton of savings, but then $24,000 vanished in a purchase from a company called Stellar Court. Darwin even guessed that Nicole spent it on a shovel, but nope. It turns out Richard blew all the money buying a star, and eventually the star died. Yup, he really spent $24,000 on a dead star. Anais has been smart from the very start. In the choices, she even corrects her own misspelled name on her hospital wristband as a baby. And in The Rival, she already had her name before leaving the hospital. So basically, she's been able to write her whole life. Gumball can imitate Anais's and Nicole's voices very well. As in the episode The Parasite, Gumball mimics Anais to trick Anais's new friend over the phone. Pretty sneaky for him. Although Elmore is located in the United States, where the 12-hour clock is prevalent, Richard's computer clock displays 24-hour time. The episode The Hug is based on Ben Boclet's real-life experiences with a woman he frequently bumped into, and thus greeted while walking his dog. When she found out his wife was pregnant, she awkwardly hugged him, leading him to hug her whenever they encountered each other from then on. Interestingly, Darwin's shoes originally belonged to Gumball. Yeah, Darwin doesn't really need clothes, so he didn't exactly need his own shoes either. Also, Gumball used to have a singular bed instead of the bunk bed he currently has. This is due to the fact that Anais was not conceived yet. Sussy was quite intelligent and spoke in full sentences as an infant, but after her parents accidentally dropped her, her voice and intelligence changed as she somehow became the way she is now. Anais can actually play the drums and cymbals very well. Hot Dog Guy has two unnamed brothers. These siblings, along with the Hot Dog Guy himself, are a part of the family of anthropomorphic hot dogs living in Elmore. Gumball has actually kissed Sussy. Yup, Darwin spills the truth in the episode The Skull, when they're all getting shocked for lying, and Gumball admits it after giving up. But the whole scene where the boys use shock therapy to stop lying was completely cut from the US airing, marking the first time an episode was edited for the US. Richard's middle name is Buckley, as revealed in the episode The Roots, probably because of the fact that male rabbits are called bucks. Tobias is actually allergic to face paintings. He told this himself and can also be seen in the episode The Scam.
Wow, good Halloween mask.
It's not the best. I'm allergic to the face paint.
In the episode The Rerun, instead of disappearing like the rest of his family, Darwin shrinks down to about the size he was when Richard purchased him from the Awesome Store and suffocates. This shows that Darwin lost his size, lungs, and limbs. Basically, because he had not been bought by Richard, he would have never gained these features. Gumball was conceived right before his parents were married, which is probably why they rushed to get married right after. Nicole and Richard's wedding anniversary is on November 1st, and when designing Chi-Chi and his family, the production team had to consult legal advice to make sure the designs were not too similar to the original Miracle Star designs, hence why they were only used in storyboards. Funnily enough, Cartoon Network copyright struck the original upload of Miracle Star to YouTube. Richard Watterson's father, Frankie, didn't actually spend the last 33 years of his life in prison as everyone assumed. In reality, he was avoiding a 3-day jail sentence for scamming senior citizens by selling them parcels of the moon. Struggling to cope with his life on the outside, he ended up running from his sentence for years, which also led him to leave his family and get the milk.
Nice to have the family all together.
I was gonna get in touch sooner, but my phone broke. Anyway, you guys hungry?
Sure.
Me too.
Gumball is not good at grammar, because in the episode The Stars, when he sent messages to Larry, it was full of grammatical errors. Rob is the only character who remembers the events of what happened during the episode The Rerun, hence why Gumball doesn't understand why Rob is not his nemesis anymore. Richard is actually a pacifist, and has admitted this himself in the episode The Refund when he's talking to the store manager. Well, Gumball is a Sagittarius and Penny is a Capricorn, which quietly places Gumball's birthday sometime between November 22nd and December 21st, and Penny's is between December 22nd and January 19th. On the $100 bill of the Elmore Reserve note, this note is not real, can be read below the seal of the upper left. While Gumball could be bisexual or pansexual, the creator, Ben Boclet, also supported this idea on Twitter, saying that Gumball loves whoever he loves, but it's still never been directly confirmed in the show itself. Gumball actually needs glasses, but refuses to wear them because he thinks this might ruin his whole appearance. appearance. Nicole has been estranged from her parents for 20 years up to the episode The Parents. Given that Nicole and Richard are 38, this means that Nicole was only 18 when she had left her parents. Despite frequently driving the family car, Richard revealed on a tweet on this account that he does actually not have a driver's license. Yeah, this could explain his reckless driving throughout the series. Also, Darwin's full name is Darwin Raglan Caspin Ahab Poseidon Nicodemus Watterson III. Yes, this is real. Nicole, Richard, and several other characters graduated in the 1980s. As in the episode The 8, a banner reading the class of 1980 appears in the background.
Nice hair, loser.
The Wattersons' internet connection is actually from Mr. Robinson's router after Richard stole the password to the Wi-Fi. And that's a wrap on those 123 secrets that I could find in Gumball. The wonderfully weird world of Gumball is full of hidden details, clever references, and small things most people would never notice. So today, we're finding one interesting fact for each episode of the wonderfully weird world of Gumball, from season 7 through 8. Starting with the first episode of season 7, The Burger. In this episode, Gumball and Darwin realize their family is way too obsessed with Joyful Burger, which has basically taken over the whole town. They try salads, organic snacks, and even plant avocados in their backyard. But still, nothing works, thanks to the greedy food company ran by Mr. Build-A-Burger, who, yes, is literally a talking burger. But the biggest fact about this episode is that it premiered at the Annecy International Animation Film Festival, where the creators showed step by step how a Gumball episode is made. So while we're laughing at a boss burger taking over the town, the festival audience got a behind-the-scenes look at animation, which is pretty cool. Next up is the assistant. In this episode, Nicole finally gets the spotlight because she's done doing everything around the house while everyone else relaxes. She bonds with an online assistant named Ori, who listens to her, and it almost feels like a miracle. But chaos soon follows when Ori starts treating the rest of the Wattersons like the problem. There's a moment where Nicole is almost pulled out of the virtual world, and a pretty cool fact is that every single strand of her hair was animated frame by frame to make it look like it was blowing in the wind. That's not something they had to do, but it makes the scene feel way more intense and real, like she's actually being dragged through digital space. Up next is The Distance. In this episode, Gumball and Darwin are forced to live in separate rooms. Gumball goes overboard by trying to stay connected through nonstop phone calls, online chats, and even digging through old Panda Party Town accounts to check up on Darwin. But here's a fact. This Panda Party Town is actually a clear parody of Club Penguin. The game is full of animal avatars, empty servers, and that nostalgic feeling of online worlds where people log on and never really log off. But let's move on to the next episode, The Thing. In this episode, Richard is on a mission to remember what The Thing actually is. So Nicole's dinner with Granny JoJo doesn't turn into another disaster. His method was simple but hilarious. Eating everything he's had on that day, including hot dogs, cupcakes, honey, you name it, until the memory finally clicks. The Thing, all along, is Granny JoJo herself. So here's a really cool fact about this episode. You see the possum that Darwin is holding? The reason its eyes look strangely real is because they actually are. The animators took photos of art director Joe Sparrow's eyes from different angles and used them for the possum's eye textures. Instead of drawing fake cartoon eyes, they dropped in real ones, which gives the toy that slightly creepy, super detailed look. Next up is the butts. In this episode, Gumball's mission is to help Principal Brown finally get some confidence about his, well, butt, so that he can perform his poem on the school stage. Yeah, this episode is really weird. An interesting fact in this episode is that Principal Brown, Quarto, the milk guy, the spray paint bottle, and Larry have all actually went to the same school when they were kids. Funny enough, Larry was also attending Elmore Junior High with Nicole and Richard in earlier episodes, so it's kind of a little school reunion hidden in the background. In the next episode, The Traffic, the Wattersons are racing against time to get Anais to Daisyland before the park shuts down forever. On the way, everything goes wrong. Gumball can't text Penny without disaster, Darwin freaks out over a creepy mascot named Baby Billy, and Richard's car seems to have a mind of its own. Still, Anais has a blast, showing that sometimes the journey is just as fun as the destination. A cool fact about The Traffic is that some of the rides at Daisyland actually got named on screen, like the Patty Pals River, Log TAWOG Drop, Rainbow Vortex, and Parade of Kindness. It's also the episode where Daisyland, a location we've seen in past seasons, finally gets shut down. Next, in the astrological, Gumball and Penny are being tested by the stars, or at least Mr. Small's crystal, to see if they're truly meant to be together. Predictably, everything goes wrong, and Gumball gets jealous trying to get Penny back. A fun fact about this episode is that Mr. Small casually drops that Gumball is a Sagittarius, and Penny is a Capricorn. That low-key tells us their birthdays too, with Gumball being born sometime in late November or late December, and Penny being born in late December or mid-January. Next is the episode The Cheerleader. In this episode, Gumball is determined to get Richard onto the cheerleading team, hoping it will somehow fix some family trauma. Naturally, nothing goes as planned, and Richard ends up bungee jumping, crashing roller coasters, and even riding a pony that doesn't exactly survive the ride. The fact about this episode is that it reveals one of Richard's ancestors to look a whole heck of a lot like Mr. Cornell, just without the pixelated filter. But now, let's go to the next episode, The Boring, in which Gumball and Darwin take advantage of Molly's time-freezing powers to dodge Tina's after-school wrath. With time stopped, they train like kung fu masters, pull pranks on the school staff, and even dabble in some ancient magic. So the moment with Tina breathing on the camera is a classic example of breaking the fourth wall. That means the character is doing something that acknowledges the audience or the real world outside the show. In this case, her roar and the breath on the lens makes it feel like she's interacting with us directly, which is a clever little touch that Gumball often uses to make the show even more unpredictable. Then there's the episode The Teacher. In this episode, Gumball is convinced that Miss Simeon has gone full-on criminal after she confiscates his phone, which sparks a town-wide chase, dangerous car stunts, and a tie-up with Sal Left Thumb. Naturally, everything escalates to chaos before anyone even understands what's going on. Well, here's the kicker. Did you notice that this episode actually revealed that Miss Simeon lives in the desert? You see it when she's taking Gumball through all that sand to reach a mysterious cave. It's a cool little fact because almost everyone in Elmore lives in town, so it really makes her stand out. Next, in the episode The App, Gumball and Darwin get a new phone and start using ClickSap, which is basically their version of TikTok. Almost immediately, everyone in Elmore starts copying the same trends and dances that are on TikTok, until they end up like zombie-like followers. The episode shows how social media can be addictive and make people follow along without thinking. A cool fact in this episode is that it actually set a record with 77 characters, beating the Butterfly and the Spoiler by 2. That's the most characters in a single episode so far, which makes it feel super crowded and wild, like Elmore is just bursting at the seams. Next is the episode The Entrance, where Gumball and Darwin want to make a big impression at Tobias's Tropa-Gal party, so they get their hands on a strange cologne from Grandpa Frankie that makes them act completely loopy. The cops freak out, and in the end, nobody actually shows up to the party. So in this episode, the scenes in the police car were inspired by watercolors from the graffiti artist Neckface. He's the same guy who worked on Super Jail for Adult Swim, so he really has that wild, chaotic style. What's cool is that Neck even makes a tiny cameo in the animation itself. And get this, before the episode even officially aired, an unfinished version of the scene was leaked online in June of 2025, so fans got a raw sneak peek at the crazy visuals ahead of time. Then comes the episode The Letter. In this episode, Darwin wants to pass a sweet note to Carrie, but Gumball ends up making a huge mess. Carrie freaks out, the school goes crazy, and even some monsters show up. By the end, Darwin manages to sort everything out, and Carrie forgives him. The fact about this episode is that we've always seen Hector get teleported to school by his mom, but in this episode, he's actually walking there on his own for the first time. It's a small thing, but it's kind of cool to see him do something normal for once. Next, in the episode The Gut, Anais pulls her dad into her science project, and things quickly spiral out of control when Richard's stomach develops a mind of its own. It starts playing chess, taking over his body, and even insulting him, leaving the kids scrambling to fix the mess. They eventually use Richard's old 5-second rule with some ancient yogurt to bring him back to normal. So in this episode, there's barely anyone actually appearing on screen. Only 6 characters are physically there, and the rest you catch on the Watersons TV. It's kind of funny because it makes the world feel huge, even though most of it we're only seeing on screens. And on top of this, they had 10 writers working on this episode, which is the most they've ever had for a single episode, which shows how much work went into making even a small-looking episode feel packed with good content. Then there's the wrinkle. In this episode, Anais is so stressed about keeping her family in line that she literally starts aging before our eyes. She tries to fix everyone by sending Darwin to to assassin school, Gumball goes to a lawyer, and she sends Nicole and Richard to a retirement ranch. But naturally, things go completely wrong because this is Gumball. While Anais is freaking out, trying to control the family, there is this wild little fact. It's revealed that Gumball has actually committed 402 crimes. Yes, and if he grows up, he's apparently facing 402 life sentences. It's one of those over-the-top Gumball facts that is funny, but also makes you think there's something wrong with this kid. But let's move on to the next episode, The Gourmet, where Gumball becomes completely obsessed with Masami's fancy double truffle mac and cheese. He'll do anything for a bite, like trading lunches, mastering proper table manners, and even enduring training with Yuki. As a result, vases get knocked over, tables are trampled, and another anime fight almost ensues. But funnily enough, the episode description on Hulu makes it sound like he actually eats it, although on screen, he never does. The description says her personal chef almost gives it to him before Nicole shows up, and even later offers to cook it for him. It's a tiny detail, but still a cool fact nonetheless. Then there's the episode The Pool. In this episode, Richard gets fixated on getting himself and the boys into Mr. Robinson's new fancy above-ground pool during a scorching heat wave, but they end up just actually destroying the pool in the end. Here's a visual fact that's easy to miss. Mr. Robinson's tears are actually shown as yarn in this episode, which is totally different from the heart, where his tears are normal water. It's a tiny visual joke that adds to the cartoon's playful style. Next, we have the episode The Portrait. In this episode, Nicole wants one normal family photo where everyone's smiling, and naturally, nothing goes smoothly. The doorbell keeps ringing, Granny JoJo shows up carrying a mysterious box, Nicole's parents drop the bomb that they're separating, and Frankie tries to mediate the chaos, but before anyone realizes it, he runs off. The biggest fact about this episode is we see Richard actually write his own weekly newsletter, called Rich Pickings. It seems pretty popular too. People all over Elmore, like his mom, Nicole's parents, and even inmates at Frankie's prison and Donut Cop all read it. Next up is The Climb, where Gumball has to face his fear of rock climbing after last year's embarrassing underwear mishap. Darwin tries to motivate him, and in the end, Gumball climbs the wall half naked and finally conquers his fear. A neat fact from this episode is that Mr. Small, the school counselor, is actually a failed actor. Most of us see him as a calm, guiding figure helping Gumball face his fear, but this little detail adds depth to his character. He's kind and pretending to be helpful, but really, he could just be acting. It's one of those small behind-the-scenes touches that shows that writers like to give the supporting characters their own quirks. And finally, we have the season episode finale, The Amadean, in which Gumball agrees to help Penny get through her grandmother's birthday by going along with the Fitzgerald's strange family traditions. This includes wearing a shell, following rules no one bothers to explain, and navigating a party that's cheerful on the surface, but uncomfortably intense behind the scenes. So the thing about this episode is that we see Penny's family, the Fitzgeralds, all don't look like cute fairies like she does. A lot of them take the form of other objects or animals, and they've all got antlers and wings on top. But now, let's move on to season 8, where the facts get even more interesting. Starting off with the summoning. In this episode, Darwin tries to join the yearbook club, but they reject him. He then goes with Masami, Claire, and Terry, and becomes a witch. A cool fact about this episode is that it perfectly follows the plot of Macbeth. Next is the episode The Unfollow, where Gumball and Darwin panic after realizing that Sarah's unfollowed them and stopped giving them attention online. That fear sends them into full desperation mode, thinking of anything they can to win her back. So here's a fact about Darwin that gets revealed in this episode. His biological father is actually Mr. Blobby, which is a blobfish that became a huge internet meme. Yes, you heard it right. People loved it online because blobfish looks super squishy and sad in real life, and it got turned into all kinds of memes. Next is the episode The Promposal. In this episode, Penny just wants to ask Gumball to the middle school prom in a simple, heartfelt way. The problem is that Gumball's expectations are completely unhinged, pushing Penny into bigger and increasingly dangerous promposals that spiral way out of control. And by the time it's over, emotions are high, and Gumball quite literally melts from how intense things get. A little fact about this episode, as it was apparently listed on EIDR early as The Proposal, so that might have been the working title before they settled on the final name. Then there's The Trumpet, where Nicole becomes convinced that if she doesn't push Gumball now, he's gonna grow up to live on their couch forever. Her solution is surprisingly optimistic. Give him a trumpet and convince him that he's secretly a musical genius. The problem is, Gumball is absolutely terrible at it. But still, Nicole forces the whole family to play along, and the fake confidence somehow works a little too well, turning Gumball into a loud, arrogant arrogant nightmare before everything finally collapses. But here's a cool fact. That whole moment with the hazmat crew blowing up the trumpet is a straight up parody of Monsters Inc. In the Pixar movie, a single sock sets off a full 2319 emergency, and the CDA storms in like it's the end of the world just to destroy it. Gumball does the same joke here by treating the trumpet like it's some sort of deadly contaminant. It's funny because both things are totally harmless, but everyone overreacts with maximum panic. But honestly, in Gumball's case, it was a little more deserved because that thing sounded awful. But let's move on to the next episode, The Synthesis, where Nicole and Yuki try and show their kids how powerful they really are during career day. But things quickly get out of hand. They end up fusing into a single being called Nikoshita, causing chaos around the school until their daughters show up and show them that real power isn't about impressing others. A neat little fact in this one is that it's the first time Wilson actually shows up on screen since The Others, which aired a whole 10 years earlier. He'd only be mentioned or hinted at for ages, so seeing him physically appear again feels like the show quietly is bringing back a long-lost background character. Then there's the cheapness, where Christmas is canceled in Elmore because the city is broke. Gumball and Darwin decide to save it by taking gifts and decorations from the Awesome Store and delivering them themselves. Along the way, they deal with tricky security systems, icy roads, and even accidentally turn Donut Cop's car into a dragon. In the end, the townspeople appreciate their efforts, and Santa arrives late due to his own financial troubles. A really interesting fact about this episode is at first, Gumball and Darwin were actually supposed to steal the Awesome Store van themselves, but the network stepped in and said, yeah, you can't have children stealing a vehicle. So the writers had to change the plan. That's why the creepy doll suddenly shows up and does the stealing instead. It's basically a workaround. The story still gets the van stolen, just without putting Gumball and Darwin in that role. Next up is the score, where Gumball and Darwin try to help Ocho deal with his anger. On the bus, Gumball is playing a retro video game and joking about it, which sets Ocho off. They later visit Ocho's house and play a game called Space Estrograde. So this episode drops a surprisingly deep fact about Ocho here. He talks about his past like a sci-fi tragedy, saying that he comes from another planet where his family were royalty, his dad was killed, and he escaped with his mom while the invaders took over. But then the episode quietly twists that by calling the invaders Border Patrol, which makes it sound way more like a real-world immigration story instead of an alien war. On top of that, Ocho even admits that's just how he remembers it.
Yeah, I think so. It's the way I remember it, at least.
Not necessarily how it really happened. Since other members of his family were already living around Elmore, it suggests that he didn't die or get left behind at all, which also opens a door to the idea that his father might still be alive somewhere. Next, in the diary, Gumball and Darwin find a diary and try to figure out why the author is about to miss a big moment in her life. They sneak around school, uncover love drama between Wilson and Claire, and follow the journal's twists, eventually helping Wilson connect with Leslie. A cool fact about this episode is that Archie the Duck makes his first physical appearance since the episode The Triangle. For anyone who's been watching for a while, you probably remember that Archie is a little quirky duck who pops up in odd moments around Elmore. It's a neat callback for longtime fans, and interesting to see the show bring back a character after such a long time, even if it's a small cameo. Then there's the punishment, where Gumball and Nicole get into a huge fight after a car cuts them off, which causes them to crash and be late to school. They discover that the driver, Felicity, is responsible and decide to take revenge during summer school by pranking her in every way possible, from messing with her car to sending oversized packages. A fun fact in this episode is that Felicity keeps starting her sentences with "as a mother."
As a mother.
She says it so much that it becomes a running joke, like she's trying way too hard to sound responsible and important, even when quite literally nobody asked. It makes every scene she's in feel a little more awkward, and kind of highlights how seriously she takes herself. But let's move on to the episode The Roast, where Gumball keeps making fun of people until he goes too far and embarrasses someone in front of the whole town. After seeing the consequences of his words, he promises to stop roasting others, and the episode explores whether he can truly change, while showing that excessive mockery can hurt people. Actually, the premise of The Roast is pretty similar to an older episode, The Test. In both episodes, Gumball struggles with his own behavior. In The Test, he tries to stop being sarcastic and ends up causing chaos. chaos. In the episode The Roast, he can't stop roasting people and sees how much damage his words can actually do. Basically, both episodes end up showing Gumball learning that his natural habits, whether it's sarcasm or testing, have real consequences. Then there's the survivalists, where Gumball and Darwin try to prove that they could survive like reality show contestants. They end up naked in the backyard, fighting a squirrel and getting attacked by other animals. Richard joins in, starts making things even worse, and by the end, the entire family adapts to living like wild animals after their home is overrun. So there's a kind of wild fact in this episode, and that is that the early design sheet showed Gumball and Darwin to actually have full survival outfits. They were supposed to be wearing messy wilderness clothes, with face paint and muddy legs. Like, they'd been out in the wild for days. But at some point during production, that whole idea got dropped, and instead, they just ended up not wearing anything at all. It's one of those behind the scenes changes that makes you realize how different the episode could have looked if they stuck to the original plan. Next up, we have the labels. In this episode, a new guidance counselor comes to Elmore Junior High and starts giving students labels that define them, like vulnerable for Darwin and bad for Gumball, which just makes Gumball turn into a baddie. The labels start affecting everybody. Anais becomes a literal know-it-all, Banana Joe goes hyper, and even Principal Brown gets labeled. Gumball and Darwin then find a Mr. Small Sock puppet, get inspired, and turn the labels into tools to take back to school. In the end, Mrs. Combs is fired, and the students return to normal. The main point is that the counselor's surname, Combs, is likely a reference to Jessica Combs, one of the show's writers. I've seen her name in the credits, so it looks like the creators included a small reference to somebody who worked on the making of the episode. Next, we have the Fools. In this episode, it's April Fool's Day in Elmore, but no one is playing any pranks. So Gumball decides to fix that and starts pulling all sorts of crazy pranks on his family and the townspeople. Soon, everybody joins in, and the chaos gets so bad that the town looks like it's in total destruction. In this episode, all the mayhem in town and the masks people wear is actually a parody of the Purge movies. In that series, everyone gets to break the law for one night while wearing masks. Some of us have seen it, or at least get the idea of it. Then there's the homework. In this episode, Anais forgets her homework at home, and Gumball is stuck in bed with the flu. Even though he's sick, he decides to deliver it at her school. What should be a simple trip turns into a huge struggle, with Gumball hallucinating and fighting through his weakness just to get there. So in this episode, there's a flashback to Nicole's ultrasound with baby Anais. Gumball is shown to be an 8-year-old, but here's the funny part. He's drawn like his 4-year-old self instead. We're not totally sure if this was just a mistake by the animators, or if it was on purpose to show that Gumball's memory and imagination are all scrambled because of his sickness. Either way, this little detail is pretty neat. Next, in the Sonder. In this episode, Gumball starts realizing that everyone around him has their own story, just like he does. He notices the so-called minor characters in Elmore and wonders what their lives are like. Darwin tries to teach him that even background characters have their own problems and experiences. The episode is a sketch-style format, and Gumball can tap into people to see their secret lives. In one scene, when Gumball taps on people to peek at their secret lives, you can actually spot an early design of Mr. Bilderberger pop up. It's a tiny Easter egg from the animators showing a version of the character that didn't fully make it into the final look. It's just a fun background detail for eagle-eyed fans. Then there's the Mister. In this episode, Idaho the Potato has officially reached manhood in his culture, and now he has to deal with adult responsibilities. Darwin tries to help him navigate this, but of course, things quickly get chaotic in true Gumball fashion. Remember in that older episode, The Burger, when Gumball and Darwin caused total chaos, and it looked like Mr. Bilderberger got eaten? Well, in this episode, we see that that wasn't the case at all. He's still around and in charge of Larry. It's kind of a funny little continuity thing, because you might have assumed that he was gone for good. But nope, he survived all that madness and keeps doing his boss thing. It's one of those small details that rewarded fans who remember the older episodes. Moving on, we have the episode The Tracking, where Richard gets roped into a bet with Harold to see who can get in better shape in a day, with the loser paying the other's bills. Richard obviously can't get fit fast, so Gumball, Darwin, Nicole, and Anais take turns wearing the fitness tracker to try to make them look healthy. healthy. But nothing really works though, until Gumball comes up with a plan. They tie Richard's excess fat behind him to make him look like he has a slim body, and then break the tracker's readings, making it so bad that it seems good. Harold is fooled at first, but when Richard's fat snaps back, it knocks him into the car, knocking him out. A fun fact about this episode is it straight up breaks the fourth wall a few times, and it's pretty wild. First, when the kids freak out about their internet package getting downgraded, the screen glitches and a pink buffering circle pops up. Richard actually rips it off screen and eats it. Then Gumball literally looks at the camera when he says he can't perform while being watched. Anais even notices that she and the rest of the family wear the same outfits every day and calls it out.
We'll have to wear the same clothes every day! Wait.
It's little moments like this that make Gumball feel super self-aware and fun. Then there's the pants. In this episode, Banana Joe shows up to school wearing actual pants, and Gumball completely loses it. He thinks Banana Joe is breaking the natural order, since his peel already counts as clothes, and then spends the whole day freaking out. Darwin starts wearing 2 sets of pants, and soon the whole school is struggling with what to wear. Gumball tries to explain it to Joe, even calling his parents, and eventually Joe realizes he's overdressed and rips off his peel. On the bus home, Joe gives his peel to Gumball so he won't be cold. An interesting fact about this episode is there's at least one known deleted scene. In it, Gumball is looking for Banana Joe in the boys' bathroom, checks under the stalls, and accidentally rips Mr. Cornell's tights, mistaking them for Banana Joe's pants. Despite the mishap, Mr. Cornell walks out with dignity, while everyone else screams. The scene was finished, but it was cut out by the project leads because it might encourage kids to imitate what Mr. Cornell did, which is why this episode's actually slightly shorter than usual. Next, in the episode The Necroprancer, Gumball and Darwin go on a date with Carrie, who wants a permanent body. She first possesses Gumball, making him do all sorts of wild stuff, so the brothers decide to get her own body. They head to the underworld, face monsters, and reach a magical book that can grant her wish. In the end, Carrie chooses to stay herself, and they return safely, though later she possesses Darwin's arms, much to Gumball's annoyance. The scene in which Gumball and Darwin take Carrie to the underworld to try and find a spell that will give her a permanent body, so they can actually be close without all the chaos, is actually really cool because it's the first time we see the underworld on screen. Can you believe it? It was first mentioned like 13 years ago in the Halloween episode, so fans have been waiting forever to see what it looks like. Finally, we have the season 8 finale, The Rewrite, in which Gumball and Darwin start noticing plot holes in their lives and try to uncover the truth about Elmore, while their old enemy Rob uses a reality warping laptop to rewrite everything around them. Chaos erupts on the streets and at school, but in the end, Rob falls into the void, the world resets, and he takes over the Shady Man's role, leaving Gumball and Darwin laughing at the mess. So here's a wild fact about this. The episode reveals that if anyone in Elmore ever realizes they're fictional, the void will destroy the entire town. Crazy stakes, right? As for the episode itself, the title was first revealed by Ben Boclet on July 29th, 2025. During an interview with Nerds Rule, Ben mentioned it really does Rob justice and gives him a fun new direction. The episode also ties back to the cliffhanger from the Inquisition, where they saved it for the season finale, so viewers could get used to the new voice actors and the world before the heavy lore stuff kicked in. The amazing world of Gumball is filled with Easter eggs, references, fun facts, and so much more. So today, we're finding one interesting fact from each Gumball episode, from season 1 to season 3, starting with the very first episode of Gumball, the DVD. This episode revolves around Gumball forgetting to return a DVD that he rented from Laser Video. After being barraged by Nicole to give it back, he goes to get the DVD, only to find Darwin using the DVD as a pizza cutter. And then, to make it even worse, he throws it down the garbage disposal. Gumball and Darwin now have to try to find a way to get Laser Video off their bat. What is their idea, you may ask? Well, instead of downloading the movie online, Gumball and Darwin try remaking the movie in their backyard, and we get to see it in all of its glory. The movie that they rented and tried to remake, Alligators on a Train, is clearly a parody of the movie Snakes on a Plane, with Darwin even mimicking Samuel Jackson's mannerisms and mustache in their version of the movie. The next episode, The Responsible, has Gumball and Darwin babysitting their little sister, Anais, while their parents are out. But Gumball and Darwin treat Anais more like, well, a dog, than their alive human sister who is way smarter than they are. In this episode, Gumball sometimes calls Anais Anais,
Anais, let us in!
instead of the more commonly used Anais.
Come back, Anais!
This was always really confusing because these two pronunciations are very different, so it never made sense why they'd use both of them. Well, we'd actually get our answer 5 years later in the episode The Choices, where we see Anais changing the I and A in her name, which is probably where the difference in pronunciation comes from. The third episode is appropriately titled The Third, and is about Gumball and Darwin trying to breathe some new life into their friendship by bringing a third person on board. This is actually the first time we get to see Tobias Wilson, who becomes the third friend and eventually entices Darwin to come back to his house to play his brand new Z Station, which is clearly a parody of the PlayStation 3. Plus, the game on it looks suspiciously similar to Mortal Kombat, and the most recent Mortal Kombat at the time, Mortal Kombat 9, was released on the PlayStation 3 only a couple months before the season aired. The next episode, titled The Debt, is the first actual time we get to see Mr. Robinson, Gumball's cranky neighbor, who Gumball, for some reason, worships like a god. Well, Mrs. Robinson, on the other hand, turns out to be the literal spawn of Satan. You can see that Mr. Robinson looks a lot more realistic in this episode. This is because as the series went on, they wanted to use Mr. Robinson more and more, and to make the process easier, they changed his design to look more animated. Next, in the episode The End, Gumball mistakenly thinks that the Earth will end by the end of the day when it's just an eclipse. Every time the scene transitions, they show how much time has passed on a 24-hour timer. This is a direct reference to the TV show 24, starring Kiefer Sutherland, where every season takes place over 24 hours. And after every commercial break, they'll show how much time has passed on a 24-hour timer, exactly like how they do in this episode of Gumball. Next is the episode The Dress. In this episode, Gumball's clothes get destroyed, leading to him having to wear Nicole's old wedding dress, which fools all the kids at school into thinking Gumball is actually the new girl in the class. And this even causes Darwin to fall in love with him. This goes way too far, and Gumball has to break up with Darwin. In his speech to Darwin, Gumball says,
"It's better to have loved and watch that love be burnt before your very eyes than to never have loved at all,"
which is a reference to the poet Lord Tennyson in memoriam. Then we have The Quest. In this episode, Tina steals Anais's Daisy the Donkey toy, and the gang have to sneak into the junkyard to steal the toy back from Tina. This episode is best known for its chase scene. The trio run away from Tina, and in fact, this scene was so memorable that there was actually an online flash game based on it called Dino Donkey Dash. I remember playing this back as a kid and getting so mad because the mechanics were just too much for my brain to handle. The next episode is The Spoon, where a criminal named Sal Left Thumb tries to rob a gas station and gaslights Gumball and Darwin into helping him. Now, the biggest fun fact in this episode is that it actually features the first fourth wall break in the entire show, when Donut Cop comes and asks the boys about why there's a mustache in his hot dog. The boys say it's their secret ingredient, and they wink at the camera. Though this may be small, this would be the first fourth wall break in a show, let's just say the first of many. Next up is The Pressure. In this episode, Masami forces Darwin to be her boyfriend. Much to Darwin and his friends' dismay, repeatedly, Banana Joe and Tobias say pals before gals to remind Darwin that the boys come first.
Pals before gals!
Remember, pals before gals.
This line is a more family-friendly version of the iconic Bros Before Hoes. The Pals Before Gals line resonated so much that they decided to make t-shirts with the line on it. Now, we're on to episode 10, The Painting. In this episode, Anais draws a picture of her family, showing all of the dysfunctions of each member. Richard being too lazy, the boys being too crazy, and Nicole being too stressed. In order to stop the boys being so insane, he sends them to Mr. Small, who tries teaching them anger management. One of the exercises is screaming all of their anger out, which, when Darwin is asked to do so, he produces a bubble from his mouth that, when popped, makes a noise so loud that this happens. The clip of the house being destroyed is actual real footage of the US military testing out the Apple II nuclear bomb. The next episode is titled The Laziest, and it revolves around Gumball and Darwin trying to find a person that is more lazy than Richard Watterson. In order to win a bet, everyone tells them to go find Lazy Larry, but Larry says that he's done being lazy. Plus, he mentions he even has a house and a car now. A lot of people have pointed out the similarity between this house and the iconic Park House in Regular regular show that Mordecai and Rigby stay in. But did you know that this house is actually a replica of a real house in Vallejo, California? Seemingly, the only difference is the color. Next up, we have the ghost. And this episode is filled with references and fun facts. In this episode, Carrie takes over Gumball's body and eats an abhorrent amount of food. There are loads of references to The Exorcist in this episode. Like the main conflict of Gumball fighting back against the spirit possessing him is literally the same plot as The Exorcist, and how he creepily twists his hand and contorts his body around is just like in the movie. Also, the montages that play during Carrie's rampages are a homage to one of, if not the most controversial music videos of all time, Smack My Shut by The Prodigy. This video is so twisted that you can't even find the full version on YouTube. The mystery is the next episode, and this episode has the class trying to discover who assaulted Principal Brown. Gumball goes through each suspect until he lands on Darwin, who has toilet paper stuck to his shoe. This makes Gumball believe he's guilty, but then the class tells him that the toilet paper has been on his shoe all day. Then it cuts to a montage of Darwin walking around, unknowingly dragging toilet paper with him, with comedic music behind it. This entire scene is a reference to The Benny Hill Show, which was a classic British TV show that aired for over 40 years. The Benny Hill references don't end there though, because when Principal Brown and Miss Simeon are flung out of the window, a puppet is used instead of animation, which is also a nod to The Benny Hill Show. Then there's the prank. In this episode, Richard pranks Gumball and Darwin, which starts a full-on prank war. A lot of the pranks they pull on each other have Easter eggs. For example, when Gumball and Darwin push Richard into the ocean on a raft while he's sleeping, that is a reference to The Parent Trap. Another prank where Richard puts a bucket of water on top of the door, thinking it will drench Gumball and Darwin, is actually a reference to the movie Carrie, where at the end of the movie, Carrie gets a bucket emptied on her as a prank. The next episode is the G. In this episode, Gumball and Darwin are wearing karate G's, pretending to be martial art masters. While the entire school is making fun of them, there are multiple references to the Karate Kid, but I think the biggest and funniest reference is the training montage, where Gumball and Darwin go outside and train with this rock song, similar to how Daniel LaRusso did in the movie. But instead of actually training, they're just dancing. Also, this episode is tied for the shortest title. The next episode is The Kiss, where Granny JoJo comes to visit the Watersons and gives Gumball a massive kiss on the mouth. This unsurprisingly traumatizes Gumball, and Darwin tries his best to help him get his spirit back and find his happy place. In the Cartoon Network game Fusion Fall, Darwin has a move called the Trauma Therapy, which is a callback to this episode. Now, we have the party. In this episode, Gumball and Darwin go to Tobias' sister, Rachel's party. The party leads to absolute mayhem, destroying the house and all of its furniture. Rachel is absolutely horrified by this, but then Darwin comes to rescue the situation, fixing up the entire house and earning him a kiss from Rachel. Despite playing such a big role in Darwin's life, this is the first and last major appearance from Rachel, because the writers did not like her. In universe, this was explained by her just going away to college. Then we have the episode The Refund, another episode absolutely filled with references. Firstly, the game cartridge that the kids get is similar to an old Nintendo 64 cartridge, while their console seems to be similar to an Xbox 360. And if you know anything about video games, you know a Nintendo 64 cartridge cannot fit into an Xbox 360, which Larry won't give. They then try to persuade Larry by playing a video game in style of a charity PSA with a song about how refunds are necessary.
Refunded sooner. Uphold the rights that little Jimmy had as a consumer.
Well, the song is clearly inspired by We Are the World, another charity song.
When the world must come together as one.
Finally, the boys bring in Richard, who go to confront Larry, but before he does, he suits up, and the song that plays is Bad to the Bone by George Thorogood and the Destroyers.
I'm here to tell you, honey, that I'm bad to the bone.
Next is the robot. In this episode, Bobbert tries to become human with the help of Gumball and Darwin, but instead, he impersonates Gumball and takes over his life. The motivation of Bobbert trying to become human is 100% referencing Pinocchio. Also, Bobbert calls his mom Mom Unit, which is a reference to the show Whatever Happened to Robot Jones. Then there is episode 20, The Picnic. In this episode, Gumball and Darwin need to find their way to the picnic site, but instead get lost in in the Forest of Doom. They find a bunch of nasty and scary stuff, despite it literally being called the Forest of Doom and being told never to go there.
We go along the path, avoiding the Forest of Doom. Down the ravine, avoiding the Forest of Doom. Along the lake, still avoiding the Forest of Doom. And arrive at the picnic.
They actually go there a bunch of times after this episode, making the Forest of Doom a main location in the show. Episode 21 is The Goons, where Anais wants to bond with Gumball, Darwin, and Richard. So in order to do this, she becomes stupid. So stupid, in fact, that she ends up replacing Gumball, and Richard starts to spend way more time with Anais. To win the love of Richard back, Gumball organizes the Dumb Race, a race where everyone is blindfolded, and whoever wins is the dumbest. The Dumb Race definitely lived up to its name, with Idaho getting hit by a golf club, Banana Joe getting sliced up,
I'm a banana split.
and Anton eaten by ducks. The Dumb Race was made into a game on the Cartoon Network website, which you can still play to this day on Flash archive sites. Next up is The Secret. In this episode, Gumball is trying to find out Darwin's big secret through various different means, by torturing him with spicy food, reading his mind, and finally locking him in a bathroom and throwing away the key. Darwin then tells Gumball the quote-unquote secret.
You know last week when you made me that sandwich and I said it was great? Well, it was just good.
Which was a total lie, and the actual secret was that Gumball had unknowingly uploaded a video of him dancing and accidentally destroying his room. This video, called the Hip Flop, is a clear parody of the webcam dance video. This is an ancient meme where a girl is trying to dance, but then accidentally kicks the ceiling light, causing her to grab the curtains and push her computer off the desk, just like Gumball did. It's kind of crazy how they not only parodied the video, but the exact moves that she did to destroy her room. The sock is up next, where Gumball and Darwin are sent to Mr. Small's office for lying. Mr. Small tries to teach Gumball and Darwin about lying, but they don't seem to get it. So after, they lie about Principal Brown's head being on fire. Mr. Small has had enough and just tells the boys to be silent. This backfires heavily after Mr. Small accidentally gets trapped in a filing cabinet and then has to get the boys to try and help him out. But since the boys can't speak, Mr. Small ends up getting trapped for a long time. So long, in fact, that it's revealed in a future episode that he had developed claustrophobia.
It says here that Mr. Small is suing us for giving him claustrophobia.
The next episode is The Brain. Darwin gets sent off to a facility to do math because of how high he scored on an aptitude test. Gumball wants to try to get Darwin back by doing the aptitude test and scoring high enough to get to the facility. Gumball tries to get smarter, but his brain has had enough, so it just leaves. Gumball then convinces the brain to go through a training montage.
Every day, but something popped inside my brain. I got up to fight that fight.
And the song played during the montage, called You Gotta Think Big, is actually a parody of Hip to Be Square by Huey Lewis and the News. Most people know this song as the one Patrick Bateman played before offing Paul Allen in American Psycho. Next, we have The Poltergeist. In this episode, Richard thinks there's a ghost inside due to the scary random moaning noises during the night, but it's actually just Mr. Robinson, who's separated from Mrs. Robinson for being too nice. Richard tries to fight off what he thinks is the ghost using a vacuum cleaner, which is a clear, direct reference to the Luigi Mansion games, where Luigi sucks up ghosts using a vacuum cleaner. Also, in other countries, this episode was called The Ghost, which is really confusing because there's already an episode called The Ghost. The next episode is The Mustache, where Gumball and Darwin take Richard's testosterone supplements instead of regular cereal, turning them into men. Gumball and Darwin are initially freaked out by this, but after they realize that being men is actually really cool, they sing a song about it called Because We're Men. Now, if you're a fan of SpongeBob, you may recognize that name, because there's a song in the 2004 SpongeBob movie called Now That We're Men,
Now that we're men, we are invincible,
which Gumball parodied for this song.
Because we're men, and we can have our own kids.
Next up is The Date. Gumball gets invited to Penny's house for what he thinks is a date, but it's actually a funeral for her pet spider. Gumball needs to get suited up for the occasion, and where else to go but the dump. Richard helps him pick out clothes, including shoes, and you may not have noticed it, but this is the first time that Gumball ever wears shoes. Now, we have the club. In this episode, the family all goes to their own clubs, but unfortunately, Gumball doesn't have a club to go to, and he can't fit into any of the clubs that his other family members go to. So he's recruited by the Rejects Club, but he politely turns down their request, which causes them to try to take revenge, but then the whole Watterson family fights back. This whole fight sequence has multiple pop culture references. Firstly, Nicole needs to get angry to break down the door, so Richard tells her that he recorded a wrestling match on their wedding tape.
I taped a wrestling match over our wedding video?
This is a reference to something that happened on the sitcom Everyone Loves Raymond. Then Richard confronts one of the Egg brothers, who says, "You shall not pass,"
Thou shalt not pass!
which is obviously a reference to Gandalf from Lord of the Rings.
You shall not pass!
And finally, the other Egg brother is guarding the computer with a broom, which is a reference to the viral Star Wars Kid video. Next up is the wand. In this episode, Gumball and Darwin give Richard a magic wand toy that they find in a cereal box. Richard thinks that the wand can do actual magic and uses the wand to grant wishes. The design of the wand, plus the fact it grants wishes, clearly shows it's a parody of the Fairy Odd Parents. Episode 30 is the 8. In this episode, Miss Simeon is trying to win the Favorite Teacher Award, so she goes to live with Gumball to bribe him to get his reference for Miss Simeon to win the Favorite Teacher Award. When Gumball, Darwin, and Nicole give in and get her the reference, she runs off to go to the awarding body. Nicole finds out her intentions and then chases her to get back the reference. This leads to the reference getting caught in the windshield, and Miss Simeon tries to grab it. This scene is very much inspired from a similar one in Back to the Future 2. Next is episode 31. The car. Gumball and Darwin try to clean Mr. Robinson's car, but then it gets absolutely totaled. They hide in the attic out of shame until it's revealed that Richard actually destroyed the car with a hammer. He seemingly was able to put it back together, but then when Gumball and Darwin tried cleaning the car, it fell apart again. However, it's revealed that before all of this, Nicole accidentally backed up into Mr. Robinson's car. Mr. Robinson wants to take revenge, so he and Mrs. Robinson takes golf clubs and destroy the Wattersons' car. The scene where the Robinsons break the Wattersons' car with a golf club is a direct reference to the Big Lebowski. Even the line that Mr. Robinson says while destroying the car, "This is what happens when you mess with Gaylord."
This is what happens when you mess with Gaylord. This is what happens. This is what happens. This is what
is the exact same as what Walter said while destroying the car in Big Lebowski.
See what happens when you fuck a stranger? That's what happens.
Well, almost the exact same. Up next, we have the curse. In this episode, Gumball believes that he is cursed because of how much bad luck he has. This episode actually has had multiple clips surface before the episode aired. You may think this was because of a leaker, but no, the official Cartoon Network published these clips for some reason. Next is the microwave, where Gumball and Darwin microwave a bunch of gross stuff that turns to life. They name it Kenneth and become its parents. However, Kenneth proceeds to eat their family and becomes a kaiju. Ben Bucklett revealed on Twitter, this episode was the first one he ever thought of, and he even created an animatic of this idea way before the episode began production, which he used to pitch Gumball to Cartoon Network. At Ben Bucklett, what was the first Gumball episode ever thought of? An episode called The Gross Jar. It was just an animatic to sell the show to Cartoon Network. Then we have the Meddler. Nicole goes to school with Gumball and treats him like a baby the entire day, causing him to become extremely embarrassed. After a whole day of his mom following him around, he's had enough and tells her to leave. But literally, as she's going into her car, Gumball calls her back to help him during a cheerleading tryout.
Mom, you've got to come back. I made my own decision. It was a bad one. A really, really bad one.
Gumball, with the emotional support from his mom, goes to the tryout and he completely fails. The scene of Gumball's cheerleader tryout is actually based off a music video for the song El Turro Bank. Up next is the helmet, where Gumball is tired of his lucky tinfoil hat, so he gives it to Richard and Nicole. All three of them then develop an unhealthy obsession with the hat, to the point of them literally fighting each other over it. So Anais and Darwin decide to throw the hat into a garbage crusher, but just as they're about to throw it into the crusher, Gumball snatches it, acting unhinged and feral. However, they are eventually able to snap Gumball out of it and destroy the hat. If you haven't picked up on it already, this episode is a massive homage to Lord of the Rings, where the tinfoil hat is, well, the ring, which causes everyone who wears it to develop an obsession with it. Even the plot of Anais and Darwin needing to throw the hat into the fiery garbage crusher is the same as the Lord of the Rings, where Sam and Frodo need to throw the ring into the volcano at Mordor. The final episode of season 1 is the fight. In this episode, Tina wants to fight Gumball, and so Gumball tries to avoid her at any cost. After most of his attempts fail, Gumball then sneaks the help of Darwin, who built him a suit out of cardboard and a bucket helmet. The way Darwin puts the helmet on Gumball is directly referencing both episode 2 and 5 of Star Wars, when Darth Vader puts his helmet on in the hospital and meditation chamber respectively. Now, we move on to season 2, where the facts only get more interesting. Episode 1, The Remote, has the family all trying to get the remote so they can watch their show at night. Anais says the brand of the remote is supposedly a Logicar 2000, which is a play on the Logitech electronics company. However, the reason I say supposedly is that Anais actually played the whole family the entire time, making Nicole buy a fake remote, which was just a garage door opener. The scene where the family realized how Anais had duped them is a clear homage to the Saw movies. In the Saw movies, whenever the twist is revealed, the characters will flash back to seemingly unimportant scenes, but were actually pivotal in the story. The scenes would also be complemented with an ominous score. This is exactly how the final scene of the remote played out. Next is the Colossus, which revolves around Hector, Elmore's resident giant, who rejects Gumball and Darwin's friend request. This is due to his mother not letting him have friends, because if Hector experiences even the most basic emotions, he could destroy everything. This is displayed in full force when Gumball and Darwin call Hector boring.
It's not your fault you're boring!
Which makes him go on a rampage and destroy everything. Eventually, they were able to calm him down and put him to sleep. However, here we can see Hector's full size, where he lays from head to toe across a football field, which would put him at 300 feet tall. Next, we have the Knights. In this episode, Gumball and Penny have a partner history project together, but her dad Patrick does not like Gumball at all. Then comes Tobias, who wants to do the project with Penny and goes back to her house to ask her, but then Patrick slams the door on his foot. When Tobias is able to get his foot out and does the iconic Peter Griffin knee moment, where Peter hurts his knee, he'll grab it and go, "Ah!" for an extended period, just like how Tobias did. Next is the fridge. Nicole makes a chart on the fridge and ranks the family based on their achievements for the week. This seemingly fun chart, though, is taken way too seriously, to the point where they're all fighting each other over it. There's a bunch of Star Wars references in this. First is when Nicole tells Gumball to join him in becoming a winner.
Enough! I have won! The game is over!
Not until you've shot me. Then you'll finally join me.
Which is clearly a reference to when Darth Vader told Luke to join him in Empire Strikes Back.
Join me, and I will complete your training.
When Nicole gets put at gunpoint in the paintball match, she tells him to use his anger.
That's right. Use your anger.
Which is the same thing Emperor told Luke in Return of the Jedi.
Good. I can feel your anger.
But the most apparent reference is when paint-written Richard asks Gumball to take off the mask.
Take off the mask.
Which is 100% a recreation of the scene where dying Vader asks Luke to remove his helmet. Up next, we have the flower, where Gumball believes Leslie and Penny are in a relationship. So he gets super jealous to the point where he literally gets possessed by his jealousy. There are loads of references to ghost media in this episode. Like the salt ring they trap Gumball in is a reference to the show Supernatural. The whole exorcism scene is a homage to, well, The Exorcist. And finally, when Leslie uses a vacuum to suck up the ghost, it's clearly a reference to Luigi's Mansion or the Ghostbusters. Also, the final reveal that Leslie and Penny are cousins actually makes biological sense, as peanuts can grow on certain flowers.
You gotta break up with Leslie! What are you talking about? We're not dating, we're cousins!
Then we have the banana. Darwin's pen has multiple holes in it after lending it to Banana Joe, which leads Gumball to think that he chewed the pen. Joe says that he didn't, and Darwin doesn't care, but Gumball thinks that they should get revenge. The early drafts of the script of this episode was revealed on the website Scribd because someone leaked a call between the writers and some students who were interviewing them. Unfortunately though, in this early script, all the changes were super small, like the word stabbed being replaced with punctured and pierced. The next episode is the phone, where Gumball and Darwin get a cell phone, and Darwin gets addicted to texting Ocho. Eventually, Gumball gets fed up and texts some very rude stuff to Ocho.
Mom gave me scurvy. I'm so ready for a fight. You're a dork.
Who comes to try to kill them. This episode is a massive love letter to the Space Invader games. Firstly, the game that Gumball and Darwin were playing was literally just a more advanced version of Space Invaders. The final fight with Ocho is literally just Space Invaders in real life, and even the character Ocho, who is an 8-bit alien spider who shoots lasers, is just like the aliens in Space Invaders. Now, we have the job, where Richard gets a job. A pizza delivery job, to be more exact. At first, everything seems to be normal. However, as the episode progresses, the world seems to be getting really messed up, and it gets revealed that if Richard gets a job, then the literal fabric of the universe will get destroyed. This episode is a reference to another horror movie, The Omen, where an unassuming young boy unknowingly brings about supernatural destruction to the world, and is actually revealed to be the Antichrist. Richard being unaware of all the destruction he's causing, him being prophesized to bring the end of the universe if he has a job, and the orchestral score. All of this points to this episode being a reference to The Omen. Halloween is the next episode, where Gumball and Darwin go to a ghost party with Carrie and literally become ghosts. This episode is historic, as it's the first time in the history of the show where the title doesn't have the word "the" in it. Also, the climax of the episode is a reference to the poltergeist, where everyone gets pulled into a portal. That brings us to Season 2, Episode 10, The Treasure. This episode revolves around Gumball, Darwin, and Anais trying to find out why they're so poor, which leads them on a treasure hunt that eventually reveals that Richard got scammed for $24,000, which is why they are poor. This is actually the first time where the Wattersons are explicitly said to be poor.
The reason we'll never be able to afford what we want.
Which is one of their most important traits later in the show. Also, the movie that Richard watches, How to Ratawing Your Panda, is a parody of the Brazilian mockbusters Ratatouille and the Little Panda Fighter. Even the snippet of the movies that we see in the episode look almost identical to those bootleg movies. Season 2, Episode 11, The Apology. In this one, Miss Simeon tries multiple ways to get Gumball and Darwin in trouble with Principal Brown. One of the things she tried was putting in a $100 bill on the ground in hopes that they'll steal it and she'll catch them in the act. When the boys see the money, they are overcome with joy and scream. Now, if you were a true legend, you would know that this is a reference to Regular Show, where whenever anything good would happen to Mordecai and Rigby, they would also scream. The next episode is The Words, where Darwin is tired of letting everyone walk all over him, and so he decides to tell everyone what he thinks about them with brutal honesty.
Amy's rude and impolite because she's half cow, half troglodyte. She's half cow, half troglodyte.
This at first works, but then just evolves to Darwin being a massive jerk. Such a big jerk, in fact, that Gumball decides the only way to stop him is having a massive insult fight with him. This entire fight scene is a direct reference to Street Fighter 2, even having Darwin's big head attack resemble a Hadoken. And if you've played any online fighting games, not just Street Fighter, you'd know Gumball's pain of being spammed with the same cheap attack and getting absolutely demolished. Up next is the Skull. Here, we're introduced to Clayton, who just cannot stop lying about everything. Gumball and Darwin try their best to fix Clayton's attitude, but after a whole day of him just deceiving them, they tell him to get lost. But soon after, Miss Simeon bursts into the cafeteria, asking who upset Clayton, and Banana Joe snitches on them. The song that plays as Banana Joe points to Gumball and Darwin is the Vesti La Gubita, pronounced Vestali La Juba, by Ruggiero Leoncavallo. Then we have the bet, where Gumball wins a bet against Bobbert, and so he has to obey Gumball's every order. This eventually backfires when Gumball, for some stupid reason, says Bobbert terminate Gumball.
As long as I don't say Bobbert terminate Gumball or whatever, it's fine.
and Bobber attempts to do exactly that. The word terminate and the fact that he's a killer robot out to kill an innocent child should clue you in on the fact that they're parodying the movie Terminator. But in case you don't get it, they literally do POV shots from Bobbert's perspective, and it's literally the same as Arnold's in the Terminator. Next, we have Christmas, the second and final episode to not have the word "the" in it. This episode actually has one of the craziest facts out of all of them, with a whole scene and everything. In this episode, Richard runs over a homeless person, whom the family thinks is Santa, but Nicole is adamant that it's just a hobo. Nicole, after a whole day of trying to convince the kids, breaks the secret oath of all parents and tells them that Santa isn't real.
Let me tell you something about Santa Claus. There is no Santa Claus.
This breaks their hearts, and they run away. Nicole tries to find the kids in a park where she says Santa isn't real, just like Bigfoot, the Easter Bunny, the Tooth Fairy, and Switzerland. This scene in the park was actually cut in several countries after release, probably because the network didn't want to piss off the country of Switzerland. I remember back when the episode first came out, and I'd seen the version with the scene, but a few months later, and all the reruns were the version that had the cut scene. So I thought I was either going insane and had hallucinated a whole freaking scene, or there was some Mandela effect at play. But no, it was just Cartoon Network gaslighting me. Next is the watch. Richard gives Gumball a watch and explains its entire decorated history to him, which is very much paying a homage to Pulp Fiction. Gumball thinks it's just a waste of space, so gives it to Darwin, who gives it to Marvin, his elderly neighbor. Now, if Darwin had listened to Richard's explanation, he would know that Marvin had been trying to get the watch his whole life. So this leads Gumball and Darwin to try multiple ways to get the watch back, until they realize Richard doesn't really care about the watch, so they let Marvin keep it. This is until they realize that the watch costs $700, and then a massive mobility scooter chase ensues. The two guys in the TV program where they value the watch was actually Mick Graves and Ben Boclet, who are two of the creators of the show. Now, we have the episode The Bumpkin, the first major appearance of Idaho. His primitive lifestyle attracts Gumball, who brings him home to teach the family about living in the great outdoors. Eventually, the Wattersons grow to like the outside life, but it's revealed at midnight that Gumball snuck back into the house to watch TV, drink soda, and do pretty much the opposite of the outdoorsmanship he's been preaching. Idaho discovers him, but before he judges, Gumball convinces him to just try the modern lifestyle, and then they basically go on a bender for the whole night. When Idaho wakes up, he's not responding. Richard then drives all the way to Idaho's home in the country to save him. The scene Richard drives and loops around the tunnels is a reference to 1969 Italian Job with Michael Caine. Next is the Flakers. In this episode, Gumball and Darwin flake out on each other so much that they lose all their trust. However, with Richard's under-severe athleticism, Gumball and Darwin need to make up in order to stop him from doing anything crazy. When Darwin tries to stop Nicole from finding the state of the house, he calls in Nicole's car as stolen from a phone booth to get her stopped by the police. In the phone booth, you can see a poster from the band Bisou, which is a clear parody of Kiss with Bisou, literally meaning kiss in French. Next up is the Authority. In this episode, Richard gets into an accident, causing Granny JoJo to visit and take over watching, or more accurately, managing the family. The accident that Richard gets into causes the roof tiles to fall down on him. However, if you look at the roof on any other shot, it's clearly made out of shingles, so why are tiles falling on him? Episode 20 is titled The Virus, where a colony of viruses have been accumulating on Gumball's hand after not washing it for months. After, of course, Penny touched it. Eventually, Terry forces Gumball to wash it, causing all the viruses to die. But one of the viruses swears revenge on Gumball for all of his fallen brethren and tells Gumball, "I hope your body is ready."
I hope your body is ready.
Which is a reference to the iconic line by former Nintendo US President Reggie Fils-Aimé.
My body is ready.
The next episode is The Pony. In this episode, Gumball and Darwin have to try to rent a DVD to watch with their sister, but the movie's so bad that they need Carrie to try and break the time-space barrier and rent the DVD from them. The movie's titled A Pony's Tale and is a clear parody of My Little Pony, and the movie that Carrie was renting, titled A Nightmare on Elmore Street, is literally just A Nightmare on Elm Street, but with Elm replaced with Elmore. The next episode is The Hero. Richard overhears Gumball Gumball and Darwin making fun of him on the playground, causing him to be depressed and lock himself in the shed. Nicole and Anna Yeast berate the boys to force them to apologize to their father. So they head to the shed and look through the window, where they see Richard singing a song about how much both Gumball and Darwin mean to him, while looking at a bunch of pictures from their past. In one of these photos, we see that Darwin was actually a Christmas present, which for the first time ever, we see the origin of Gumball and Darwin. But in later episodes, this piece of lore is completely thrown out the window. Next is the dream, where Gumball sees Darwin kiss Penny in a dream and makes a huge deal about it. To stop Gumball's crazy jealousy, Darwin builds a dream machine, which allows them to go into their past dreams. Gumball is about to change the dream from Darwin kissing Penny to Darwin kissing Sussy. You can see on the clock before they go to sleep, the time is 3:07, and when they wake up, it's 3:10, which means that the time in the dream world moves the exact same as time in the real world. Now we have the sidekick, where Darwin is tired of being Gumball's sidekick, so Gumball lets Darwin take the lead by trying to get their game back from Tobias. Darwin believes the best way to do this is to kidnap Tobias's mom and send a ransom note to get their game back. Gumball freaks out when Darwin tells him what he did, so then they try to return the stolen mother before Tobias finds the note. This whole sequence of Gumball and Darwin getting Tobias's mom back home is a reference to the movie Weekend at Bernie's, where two guys have to fool everyone around them that their boss is actually alive when he's been dead and just propped up by the other guys. In the episode, Gumball and Darwin have to fool the people around them that the lady duct taped to the chair they're rolling around isn't kidnapped, so they draw eyes and a mouth on duct tape and put it over her actual eyes and mouth to look like she's happy. Similar to how in Weekend at Bernie's, the two guys put sunglasses on their boss to make it seem like he's still alive. Next up is the potato. Gumball tries to get a good photo for the yearbook, but every single one of them just looks so ugly. Mr. Small says that it can come back later, but that will be the last of the photo retakes. Gumball then gets a literal facelift from Darwin because his face is built like clay. Gumball, now happy with his new face, goes to get his final photo, where he sneezes, ruining his final photo. Many people wonder which photo he used for the yearbook, but if you actually look at the previous episode, you can see in the yearbook that they used one of the pre-facelift ones. Then we have the tag. In this episode, Richard and Mr. Robinson both get into a fight, leading them to both get put under house arrest. You may think that this would lead them to calming down, but no. Both of them go to war, trying many different ways to mess with each other's lives without breaking their house arrest. Gumball has had enough of both of them fighting, so he decides to play a game by locking them in a garbage can, with the only way to get them out being a key inside of a cage, which they both need to get to free themselves. This entire game Gumball has made to teach them a lesson is clearly a reference to the Saw movies, where Jigsaw tries to teach his victims by playing his games. They both even use videotapes for the instructions. Next is the storm, where Carmen tries making Alan jealous by kissing Gumball. This leads to Alan getting super depressed, and Gumball's reputation being dragged through the mud. Masami then suggests to Gumball that he should set her up with Alan to make Carmen jealous. However, it's revealed Masami orchestrated the whole thing just to get with Alan, who she had a massive crush on. This is actually a reference to the pilot episode where Alan and Masami were dating. Up next, we have the lesson, where Gumball and Darwin get sent to jail. Well, actually detention. There are a bunch of references to movies and TV shows in this episode. First, when Gumball and Darwin are goofing off, instead of studying, they're pretending that their stationary items are lightsabers, and they have a whole lightsaber duel. When they get their tattoos in detention, the haircut tattoo is the same as Homer Simpson's haircut. Finally, when both Gumball and Darwin jump off the school roof, is a reference to the end of Thamela and Lewis, except they both somehow survive the jump. Then we have episode 29, The Game, where the family plays Dodger Dare, the made-up game that Gumball and Darwin had been playing throughout the series. However, in this episode, they seem terrified of the game, because apparently the effects of the cards happen in real life. Like, if the card says you can't breathe, you can't breathe. This is a massive reference to the Jumanji books and movies, where the effects of the board game come to real life. Next is The Limit, where Nicole drags the family shopping, but the kids aren't having it and want candy. Nicole is adamant not to buy them candy, and tells them all off. Eventually, they get the idea to give her a makeover session. The makeover makes her look very similar to Heath Ledger's Joker from Dark Knight, and combined with her going crazy, makes her extremely scary. Next up, we have The Voice. In this episode, Gumball and Darwin get a threatening email from someone who they've wronged, except it doesn't narrow it it down at all, because they have wronged a lot of people. So Gumball and Darwin just go to apologize to everyone they know. While this is happening, we see the POV of a person who they've wronged stalking them throughout the day with this deep British accent.
You have foolishly fallen into my trap.
Eventually, they find out that it's William, the floating eyeball. The distant voice that William has is actually portrayed by Mick Graves, the writer, creative director, and executive producer of the show. Then there's the promise. Banana Joe is upset with Gumball and Darwin for constantly bailing out on him, which makes Darwin really remorseful. And so he tells Joe that he'll help him with his video on the weekend. However, this makes Gumball super mad, as the new Legend of Zelmore released that weekend, and they've been hyped to play it for years. Darwin had even promised that he would come to play it the day it came out. The Legend of Zelmore is clearly a parody of The Legend of Zelda, and when Gumball opens the box with the game in it, he sings the tune that happens whenever Link finds something in a chest. Bonus fact, when Banana Joe is all bandaged up at the end and needs to communicate, he uses a bell, 1 ring for yes and 2 rings for no. Now, all the cultured viewers would know that this is exactly how Hector Salamanca used to communicate in Breaking Bad. Next is the castle. In this episode, Richard is left in charge of the house when Nicole goes to work, meaning the kids can do whatever they want. However, this quickly turns sour, as pretty much everyone in town goes to the house and takes advantage of Richard's kindness, basically throwing a massive party. Richard tries multiple ways to stop people from trashing the house, even saying no the first time.
I'll have to say no.
But none of these methods work. In the end, Nicole comes back home, sees all the people trashing the house, and tells them to leave. After one of them asks what she's gonna do about it, she pulls him towards her and gets petrified of her stare. This is a reference to the Ghost Rider's stare, which can subdue pretty much everyone. Now we have the boombox, where Juke tries getting Gumball and Darwin to understand him, but he just speaks in random beats. Gumball tries, not very hard, to decipher what he's saying, and one of the things he thinks Juke is saying is "Little Timmy fell down the well."
Little Timmy fell down the well.
Which is from a very old TV show, Lassie. But in Latin America, most people have no idea what Lassie is, so they replace the line with something that roughly translates to "Finn sterilized Jake," which is obviously a reference to Adventure Time, but seriously, what does sterilize mean in this context? Next is the tape, and this episode is filled with Easter eggs. The cheat code Ocho does, up, down, left, right, BA star is the iconic Konami code, which can be used on the NES. The last name of Carrie is revealed to be Cougar in this episode.
Harry Krueger as Carrie.
A reference to Freddy Cougar from A Nightmare on Elm Street, which could also be a reference to when Carrie rented the spoof Nightmare on Elmore Street in the Pony. The Baby Anais toy is a reference to the Baby Alive toy that had a very similar commercial. The character Gumball plays, Ninja George, looks exactly like John Rambo from the Rambo movies, minus the mullet. And finally, when Gumball is speaking in a British accent during the Nature Doc segment,
just find spheres. Orbiting spheres.
He's clearly portraying David Attenborough. Next is the sweaters. In this episode, we're introduced to Sarah, who reveals that at her old school, Gumball and Darwin are treated like royalty. This causes 2 of her past classmates, Carlton and Troy, to challenge Gumball and Darwin to a fight, a tennis match fight. Then we're introduced to their coach, Mr. Kreese, who looks exactly like Omni-Man. Even though the show Invincible, where most people first found out about Omni-Man, wasn't released until 2021, the Invincible comics were released in 2003, which means that the creators of Gumball may well have seen Omni-Man and decided to use him as inspiration for Mr. Kreese. The character is also a reference to John Kreese from Karate Kid, because, well, he's an evil coach with the last name Kreese. Up next is the internet, where Gumball gets jump scared by a video and has an interesting reaction. Gumball accidentally uploads the video and becomes instantly viral. Gumball is humiliated and decides to go to war with the internet, where Gumball watches the jump scare video before he gets scared and says,
"There's no ghost in this video. It's just a car driving down a road."
This is a reference to the video Rexing Car Drive. The video starts with a car driving down a peaceful road, but then all of a sudden, a scary zombie jumps out and scares the viewers. The reason this video is so iconic, to the point it even got a mention in a Gumball episode, is because it was actually one of the first jump scare / screamer videos to be uploaded with the original Relaxing Car Drive video uploaded 19 years ago. Next is the plan, where Gumball, Darwin, and Anais find a letter in the dumpster from a man saying how Nicole's beauty and happiness are what he values the most.
Listen to this. Here's another gift because your beauty and happiness is the most important thing in my world. Signed, Daniel Leonard.
The three take this as a man trying to steal Nicole away from Richard, so they devise a plan to stop him. Now, what is the name of this man, you may ask? Well, his name is Daniel Leonard. It is actually named after one of the executive producers. When Gumball, Darwin, and Anais see the billboard for Daniel Leonard, because, spoiler alert, Daniel Leonard isn't actually a real man, it's just a cosmetics company, the guy on the Daniel Leonard billboard is actually the IRL Daniel Leonard. Next is the world, where all the objects in the world of Gumball take over the show, and we get to see their lives. This is the first time that neither Gumball or Darwin play a major role. They are shown in some skits, but this is genuinely the first time they have a minor role in the story, which is an interesting decision, since the show is literally called The Amazing World of Gumball. The final episode of season 2 is appropriately titled The Finale, and probably the most meta the show has ever gotten at this point. The entire plot revolves around the trope that the actions of TV series characters don't face any consequences for their actions in the episode prior. So the Wattersons in this episode are faced with multiple lawsuits for their actions in previous episodes and need to try to resolve them. This leads them to, for some reason, try to make their problems even worse by destroying everything in their path, and one of the things they do is release both Kenneth and Hector, who have a massive kaiju fight. This fight is a big homage to Godzilla vs. King Kong. The first episode of season 3 is titled The Kids. In this episode, Gumball and Darwin lose their voices, and this causes them problems with literally everyone around them. But by the end of the episode, they accept that growing up is just a part of life, only for their voices to immediately glitch out and return to their younger version.
But soon we could drive, go to college, and we both go crazy.
This is the last time we hear Logan Grove and Kwesi Bache voice Gumball and Darwin. And it's also the first time we hear Jacob Hopkins and Terrell Ransom Jr. voice them too. The second episode is called The Fan. In this episode, the duo are stalked by their fangirl, Sarah, who tries so hard to inject herself in their lives. Sarah's character is a meta reference to stan culture, which is basically when a celebrity gets so big that some of their fans will literally revolve their entire lives around them, stalking them, pretending to be in a relationship with them, and creating weird fan fiction about them. These are all things that Sarah does to Gumball and Darwin, which understandably freaks them out. Episode 3 is The Coach. In this one, Gumball and Darwin get a new coach, named Coach, who pushes their body to the limit. She's also revealed to be Jamie, the school bully's mom. If you're a big Pixar fan and were watching this episode, you would probably recognize that the coach's voice literally sounds the exact same as Roz from Monsters, Inc. Episode 4 is The Joy. Gumball and Darwin get a wonder hug from Richard, which begins to slowly transform them into happy zombies, but only Miss Simeon can recognize it. Eventually, Miss Simeon is able to fend them off and hide in her office when she realizes that her favorite song, Beethoven's Moonlight Sonata, was able to revert the joy virus because it was so sad. Miss Simeon tries to use the PA to play the song and revert all the zombies back, but the zombies surround her and she turns infected. The fun fact for this episode is that the Moonlight Sonata isn't technically a sad song. It was actually a love song that Beethoven privately composed for his student. Episode 5 is The Puppy. Gumball, Darwin, and Anais really want a puppy, so they go to Richard to ask him, only to find out that he already bought them a puppy. But when they look in the box, they see it's not a puppy, but a turtle. And not just any turtle, it's an evil turtle, which terrorizes the whole family, specifically Gumball, so much so that they decide to give it back. However, Darwin left the turtle outside for quote-unquote fresh air, but it was like 100 degrees outside, so the turtle raisined up and died, only to be revived by Darwin's tears and run away. This actually happened to the series creator Ben Bucklet's own pet turtle, who died because he left it outside in the sun for too long. This episode also has a bunch of horror movie references, like when the turtle survives being blown up, he walks out of the fire like the Terminator. When the turtle peeks its eyes over the water, the song is very similar to the iconic Jaws theme, and when he runs at Gumball, the song playing is very similar to the classic score from the movie Psycho. And when he hisses, He makes the sound that Hannibal Lecter does when he's describing how he ate a person's liver. Finally, when we get to see the POV of the turtle, all he sees are the heat mappings of the trio, similar to how all the predators from the Predator movies see humans. Episode 6 is The Recipe, which is the first episode to revolve around Anton. Gumball and Darwin have no idea how Anton keeps dying and coming back to life after being killed like literally every day. So they decide to go to his house and snoop around, where they find out that his parents are recreating Anton every day using a special toaster combination. This episode has a bunch of Star Wars references. Firstly, when Richard says, "I feel a great disturbance in the food chain," after an army of Antons gets killed, it's a reference to when Obi-Wan says, "I feel a great disturbance in the Force," after the planet Alderaan gets killed.
I felt a great disturbance in the Force, as if millions of voices suddenly cried out in terror and were suddenly silenced.
Next, when evil Anton tries to convince Gumball to keep him and ditch the real Anton, it's very similar to the scene where Luke and Vader are fighting in Cloud City, and Vader asks Luke to join him.
Join me, and I will complete your training.
Finally, the entire idea of an evil warlord using an army of clones to fight the Chosen One is literally the exact plot of Star Wars. Episode 7 is The Name, where Gumball achieves the high score on an arcade machine and needs to input his name, but he doesn't actually know his real name because Gumball is just a nickname. Eventually, Nicole reveals that his real name is Zat.
Your real name? It's Zach.
Which is apparently such a cool name that Gumball eventually gets controlled by the Zack personality, turning him into a massive douchebag. The game that Gumball was playing on the arcade machine was called Doppelganger, which is good foreshadowing, but a weird name for a fighting game. The next episode is The Extras, which is a similar episode to The World, where instead of a bunch of background objects taking the spotlight away from the duo, instead it's all the background characters. It's an interesting idea, taking characters that we've seen multiple times in the background, just doing absolutely, well, nothing, get to do something. But the fun fact in this episode is actually that the bear who sings, this whole song about getting to shine and being in the spotlight, isn't in any actual segments. Next up is The Gripes, where Gumball and Darwin are just so peeved that nothing can make them happy. This attitude eventually leads the town to think they're homeless and decide to write them a massive check. But when Darwin tells the crowd they're not actually poor, they get really mad. So Gumball says that they're actually so poor and says things like, "We're so poor we can't afford free stuff."
We're like so poor that we can't afford free stuff.
This is a reference to the Yo Mama jokes that were super popular on the internet around a decade ago. Now, you may think this is not actually a reference because it could just be a coincidence that Gumball said a line like that, but one of the people in the crowd say that Gumball just stole that line off the internet.
That's not proof, that's just jokes stolen from the internet. These guys are fake.
Which proves to me that this is supposed to be a reference to Yo Mama. Now, we have The Vacation, where the Watterson family go out on vacation, but their car breaks down, so they have to stay in these weird, possibly mutant humanoid creatures places. Eventually, the Wattersons get so afraid of the family that they book it out of their home and run away. But then, it's revealed that the family are actually just regular people that look weird. This episode is a parody of The Hills Have Eyes, where a family's car breaks down on their way to vacation, and they get attacked by mutant inbred cannibals. This was actually confirmed by Ben Booklet himself, which is cool as most other parody episodes aren't ever outright stated to be parodies, but it's usually pretty obvious when it is. Next is The Fraud. Principal Brown punishes both Gumball and Darwin for wearing fake spray painted on clothes. He goes on an entire rant about how faking things is wrong, till Gumball sees that Principal Brown's diploma is actually painted onto the wall next to him. Principal Brown begs the kids not to tell anybody, which they agree to do, but for some reason, Principal Brown thinks that the kids are lying and tries to bribe them, to which they decline. Eventually, he decides the only thing he can do is blow up the school. But when Mr. Small finds this out, he stands in front of Principal Brown with trash bags, telling him to stop, only for Principal Brown to literally walk over him. As a kid, I had no idea why he was holding bags, but while researching this video, I found out that this is actually a reference to Tiananmen Square, where a ton of protesters got massacred by the army in Tiananmen Square in China. China. However, someone coming back from shopping was walking through Tiananmen Square when this was happening, and the man saw 3 tanks moving in a line. He immediately went and started obstructing the tank's path, and since the drivers didn't want to run him over, they stopped, and the image of the guy holding his shopping bags blocking the tank became a popular meme. Then we have the Void. Gumball and Darwin notice their friend Molly has disappeared for years, and when they ask people around, they literally have no idea where she is.
Not one of you remembers Molly.
Wait, did you say Molly?
Yes.
No, don't remember.
Eventually, they ask for the help of Mr. Small, who takes them to where Elmore ends, which is a literal wall that is on the outside of someone's house. They rip the wall open and see the Void, where a bunch of forgotten stuff is just floating around, like blimps and Darwin's old cell phone. But I think the coolest part about the Void is that there are a bunch of Easter eggs relating to old Gumball. For example, Darwin and the Wattersons' house from the pilot are both there. But the funniest part is that the trio just ignore all of it. Next is the Boss, where Rocky wants to earn his father's approval and save him because he's rapidly losing stuffing. So Rocky decides to get a job at Charnex, a soulless corporation where you work till you croak. In order to get the job, Rocky needed to show off a talent, which he does. What's this mysterious talent, you may ask? Well, it's whistling the national anthem with his butt. Then we have the Move. Blatant just can't stop lying about himself and how cool he is, when he's really just a massive phony. He keeps trying to convince Gumball and Darwin that he knows a super secret 7 pressure point heart exploding technique, which they're absolutely not buying, until he uses it on Tobias and he collapses. This finger touch heart destroying technique is a reference to the 5-point palm exploding technique featured in the movie Kill Bill, a Movie, which the creators have already referenced in the episode The Banana. Next is the Law, where Gumball and Darwin are arrested by Donut Cop for jaywalking. They both yap about cops are so uncool, which leads Donut Cop to show him how cool he is by abusing the law to do fun stuff like getting free food and hacking rides. This leads Gumball and Darwin to actually think the cops are cool, and they sing a song that's called The Sound of Law Enforcement, and this song is clearly a parody of The Sound of the Police. Then we have the Allergy, where Darwin starts sneezing a bunch after going to school. This is, at first, not really a big deal, but then he starts to blow things away with his sneezes, and eventually, the sneezes become so powerful that they can literally tear holes through things. Gumball takes him to the nurse, where Carrie is there, and thinks that a possible diagnosis could be the G virus, which is actually just the fictional zombie virus from the Resident Evil games. The next episode is The Mothers, where Gumball, Darwin, Tobias, and Banana Joe get into an argument about whose mom is the superest, where they decide the only way to do it is by testing their moms with physical challenges. This episode reveals that Nicole's power level is unfathomable, although in later episodes, this godlike power is referred to all the time. This is the first time we actually get to see it in full force, with her becoming a superhero with a cape and a weird curl on her hair, just like Superman, or I guess Superwoman. Then we have the Password, where Richard puts a password on the computer to stop the kids from playing it all the time. Richard and Darwin eventually find out the password is the name of their favorite child. They try all the kids' names, but the funniest one is when they try to put Darwin's name, and he has the big over-the-top speech thanking everybody.
I would like to thank my parents and my manager.
This is a clear reference to the speeches award winners get at the Oscars. I mean, he even thanked his manager for some reason. Like, who is Darwin's manager? The Procrastinators is up next, where Gumball and Darwin are tasked with taking out the trash before Nicole gets home. But they insist on procrastinating by playing games, going on the computer, and eating themselves. Eventually, Mom gets back home, and she's not just any regular angry mom. She turns into the Terminator, which is like the third homage to the Terminator we've talked about in this video. The next episode is The Shell, where Gumball and Penny are about to finally have their first kiss, but then Gumball headbutts her, causing her shell to crack. This leads to her getting super worried, because unbeknownst to Gumball, she's actually had a true form that's hiding underneath the shell. When Patrick, her father, finds out about the shell, he tries pulling her out of school. Eventually, Gumball gives her the confidence to break out of the shell and be her true form. This episode was so well received that it was chosen to be the submission for the BAFTA for the Best Children's Series, which it actually won. Next is episode 21, The Burden. In this episode, Gumball and Darwin are tasked with taking care of the class pet, met Chris Morris for the weekend. At first, they hate him and think he's gross and a massive burden. But then, after helping Gumball with his date with Penny and Darwin with his mental issues, they grow to love Chris Morris, who actually just turns out to be Principal Brown's shaven hair, and the real Chris Morris is still in the principal's office. The name Chris Morris is a reference to the British comedian by the same name who is wildly popular. Since the creators of Gumball are British, they're probably fans of him. Episode 22 is The Bros. In this episode, Gumball wants to propose to Penny, despite them only dating 2 episodes prior. Darwin, however, cannot handle his best friend being stolen away from her, so he does everything to win Gumball back, but this just leads to Penny breaking up with Gumball. Eventually, Darwin helps Gumball get back together with Penny, and everything ends smoothly, except that Penny's house burns down. This is actually Jacob Hopkins' favorite episode of the entire show. Episode 23 is The Mirror. In this episode, Gumball and Darwin get a chainmail saying that if they don't send this email to all their contacts, a demon named the Snatcher will haunt them down. Now, Gumball doesn't believe this and discards the email, but because this is Gumball, obviously the email was real and the Snatcher tries to kill them. The whole sequence of the Snatcher trying to kill them has a bunch of horror Easter eggs. Firstly, the Snatcher coming out of the TV is a parody of The Ring, where the creepy girl crawls out of the TV. The book, Carrie has to defeat the Snatcher, is literally just the Necromidon from the Evil Dead franchise, and having to say the Snatcher's name 5 times in front of the mirror.
The book says we summon him by calling his name 5 times.
To summon him is also how you summon Candyman. Finally, the Snatcher's real name, Vlad, is a homage to Vlad the Impaler, the man who Dracula was based off of. Next is the man. Granny JoJo brings her new boyfriend Louie to the Watterson house for dinner, but Richard does not approve, as he doesn't want him to replace his real father, Frankie, who left to get the milk 35 years ago. This causes Granny JoJo to have to sneak out of the house to meet Louie. When Gumball and Darwin try pushing Granny JoJo on the contraption, they find that she is super heavy because she has a ton of metal limb replacement. So much, in fact, that she's legally classified as a motor vehicle. This means that 75 to 80% of Granny JoJo is metal. The next episode is the pizza. In this episode, the Watterson family orders a pizza, and while they're reminiscing on the horrible day they just had, well, technically the horrible day Larry had to deal with them, the pizza takes forever to come, so they call the place again, only to find out Larry has quit all of his jobs.
Goodbye, Elmore. I quit.
Turning Elmore into an apocalyptic state. This entire wasteland version of Elmore is based off the dystopian action series Mad Max. Next up is The Lie, where the entire town of Elmore is just so depressed about how lame January is because there's no holiday. So Gumball decides to just lie and make up a holiday.
And so was born the Sluzzle-Tag Lie. Now all the boy needed was the town to comply.
Which leads to the entire town believing that Sluzzle-Tag is actually a real thing. We've seen a lot of horror movies being referenced in the show, but this episode is actually filled with Christmas movie references. Firstly, when Miss Simeon realizes she can destroy Sluzzle-Tag because it's made up, she makes this creepy grin, which freaked me the hell out as a kid, but it's actually just a reference to the Grinch's smile. Next, the family watches stop-motion movie called The Night Before Sluzzle-Tag. The title of the movie is clearly a reference to The Night Before Christmas, and finally, the film itself looks a lot like the classic Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer stop-motion cartoon. The next episode is The Butterfly. This episode showcases the effect that a butterfly's flap has on the entire town of Elmore, which causes a bunch of different types of destruction and mayhem, leading to a tornado. A clear demonstration of the butterfly effect. The human face the butterfly has is actually storyboard artist Chuck Kellen's face. Then we have the question, where Gumball and Darwin are banned from eating the unhealthy, soggy cereal, so instead they have to eat the boring wheat-based garbage. However, they are able to sneak loads of it when Nicole isn't paying attention, but since it's their last time, they need to make the most of it. So they eat it with their eyes, which actually works and sends them into a trance-like state, where they ask, what's the meaning of life?
What's the point in our lives?
This is clearly an innuendo for, shall we say, psychedelic rugs with a D. Next is the Saint. In this episode, Alan is just aggravating Gumball with his niceness and perfectness as a character. This causes Gumball to try to break him, but all of his sadistic attempts fail, with Alan always turning the other cheek. When most people remember this episode, they remember the annoying face Alan makes whenever he does something nice. This face is called the Unikari, and is a common expression used in Japanese manga. Then we have episode 30, where Anais is so lonely that no one comes to her birthday party. This leads her to create an imaginary friend who looks, yeah. He's actually really cool though, and becomes Anais's first friend, until he gets murdered. Most people can probably tell immediately that this episode is based off The Iron Giant, where a lonely kid befriends a scary thing, which actually turns out to be pretty awesome. Episode 31 is The Oracle. Banana Joe's mom paints pictures of events that happened in the Wattersons' lives. However, these pictures are actually dated before the events even happened, implying that she can paint the future. One of these paintings showed Gumball naked in the mall, with a leaf covering his junk and a bunch of people pouncing him. Despite all of Gumball's efforts, this event does come true, but the episode doesn't end there. We actually see Banana Barbara paint another picture of the Watterson family being engulfed by the void. For years, no one knew what this meant, all but in the very final episode, where the world gets engulfed by the void, because the show got canceled, meaning the creators of Gumball predicted their own cancellation, making them the actual oracles. Episode 32 is The Safety. After watching a traumatizing safety PSA, Darwin decides that he needs to make the entire world safe from any sort of violence. Strong language.
Oh, that's because I put the child filter on the house.
What the? Wait, what's happening? It's like there's some kind of device censoring every gosh word I said.
And basically anything that can make anyone upset. This leads him to become the dictator of Elmore, with Gumball needing to stop him. The safety PSA in the beginning is a parody of the Smokey Bear PSA. Almost any American who's been to school has probably seen this. Episode 33 is The Society. In this video, Gumball decides that the reason why nothing goes his way is not because he's a danger to himself and the people around him, but because the school has a secret society and only the people in the society can succeed. This is clearly making fun of the Illuminati conspiracy theorists who believe all their problems come from some ultra-rich secret group out to get them. Episode 34 is The Spoiler. In this episode, Gumball and Darwin have to see the upcoming hyped movie, The Screamin', a week late because they didn't have money to buy a ticket. This means they had to avoid spoilers for the entire week. So eventually, Gumball and Darwin go to see the film, but Anais, stuck in Gumball's bag, records the whole thing, causing Larry to bust in and the kids having to evade him. If you pay attention and listen to the whole movie, while the escape scene is happening, the dialogue in the movie matches the actions of the trio and Larry.
It's a dead end. What do we do?
Episode 35 is The Countdown, where Gumball and Darwin need to get to school on time or they will get expelled. When Gumball gets out of bed, he spins around just like Wonder Woman did to suit up in her old TV show from all the way back in 1975, but instead of getting a super suit, he just gets regular clothes. Episode 36 is The Nobody. Gumball and Darwin notice that someone else is in their house, and they find out that it's this weird glitching Cyclops guy, who's later revealed to be Rob, who used to just be a random forgettable background character. So forgettable, in fact, that he was sent to the void. But when Gumball and Darwin come back to rescue Molly, he grabbed onto the back of the van and got sent back to the real world, but with his body disfigured. When Gumball and Darwin try to run towards Rob, quote unquote innocently, they look just like the Titans from the popular Attack on Titan anime. Next is The Downer, where Gumball wakes up in a super bad mood and wishes everyone away. At first, he likes this new life, with no one to bother him. But then, after singing a song about how life can make you smile, which quickly devolves into why life is so bad, he realizes he needs the people around him. So after being chased around by this darkness thing, he fulfills Darwin's wish from the beginning of the day, and everyone reappears. The plot sounds nice and heartfelt, right? Well, initially, Ben Booklet said that they had to scrap the initial idea of this episode because it was too dark. This was actually confirmed by Ben Booklet himself. I'm surprised that it hasn't gotten more traction with fans, because they've given so much attention to the grieving, a creepy lost episode which is fate. But apparently, there's a real lost idea for an episode that is creepy that no one talks about. Up next is The Triangle. The Elmore Marching Band are going to perform in an upcoming game, and Leslie, as usual, will play the solo. However, Darwin wants to have a turn doing the solo, so Principal Brown asks him to play something, to which Darwin plays the most beautiful song you've ever laid your ears on. The song that Darwin plays is actually the Clair de Lune, an old French piece usually played on flute. The next episode is The Egg. In this episode, Nicole tries to desperately make her family look presentable for the Parham family, who's coming over for a nice lunch. This eventually goes amok as Felicity Parham constantly insults the family, and Anais runs away with Billy, Felicity's son. This episode was actually aired on the Cartoon Network app before it was on TV. Comment below if any of you still have the Cartoon Network app, because you can't get it anymore on the Google Play or App Store. Finally, we have the season 3 finale, The Money. In this episode, Richard wastes all the Wattersons' money on gold, which he threw into an offshore bank account.
Dad, what'd you do with the money?
Well, I did what all the business sharks do to avoid getting taxed. I transferred it to an offshore bank account.
So Larry offers them a deal to become sellouts and act in a new Joyful Burger commercial as a spokes family. But Gumball doesn't agree and say that they shouldn't compromise their morals just for money.
I'm still a child. Nothing in my life has been decided yet. I am free. I haven't sold out to a job I hate. I don't have to be part of this dirty rat race that ruins the world, chasing money I don't need to buy stuff I don't want. I'm free to make my own choices. So yes, Larry, I will have fries with that.
So they have to learn to live without anything. Ben Boclet has said that out of all the episodes in this season, this one was his favorite.
I'm about to tell you 507 facts about the amazing world of Gumball. So whether you're completely new to the show or even watching for years, I guarantee you'll learn something new in this video. So sit back and grab your popcorn because this is gonna be a long one. In early development, the show was pitched under the name Gumball and Darwin before settling on the amazing world of Gumball. Ben Boclet, the creator of the amazing world of Gumball's favorite character is Sussy, and this might be because the face is portrayed by his girlfriend Arlie Charbonnier. In Japan, Gumball is voiced by Junko Takuchi, who is also the voice of Naruto. And what's funny is that she also voices Mr. Beast's Japanese dub for his videos. That means the same actress plays Gumball, Naruto, and Mr. Beast. That's insane work. A lot of the characters in the show were rejected advertising mascots from Ben Boclet's portfolio. I guess one man's trash is another man's treasure. Gumball takes more time to create than your average cartoon because of its mix of 2D animation, 3D animation, and so much more. This is why the time between episodes can be anywhere from 3 weeks to a few months. Darwin is registered as a pet fish instead of a student at school. Does this mean he gets a different degree? In Richard's early concept designs, he was a blue dog, which is hard to imagine because he makes such a cute rabbit. Gumball has gone through several transformations during development. Originally, he was also supposed to be a blue dog like Richard, and then he got switched to an unlucky black cat. And then, for his final design, he became the blue cat we all know and love. Richard, Anais, and Nicole are based off the personalities of Ben Boclet's own family members. And Gumball is heavily inspired off how Ben Boclet acted as a kid. Bro must have been doing some crazy things. Principal Brown and Miss Simeon are in a relationship. This is supported by the episode The Sock, The Lesson, and The Burden. The episode The Sweaters is a parody of the movie Karate Kid. Ben Boclet didn't think the amazing world of Gumball would be successful, but it's gone on to win several awards internationally. The word nipples has been said on the show multiple times, despite its TV Y7 rating. Adventure Time has a more mature rating of TV PG, and they still can't say it. The movie Alligators on a Train in the Gumball universe is a reference to the real movie Snakes on a Plane. It's been revealed that Gumball was originally just a nickname. His real name is Zach, but it caused him to create a terrible alter ego in the episode The Name, so they legally changed it back to Gumball. Gumball's middle name was supposed to be Christopher, but his dad Richard somehow confused it for Tristopher. In the pilot episode of the show, Gumball was voiced by Nicky Jones, who is also the voice actor for Chowder. When Gumball got greenlit and became a show, he got replaced by Logan Grove from the beginning of season 1 all the way to the season 3 episode The Kids. Jacob Hopkins then took over the voice of Gumball from The Kids all the way to the season 5 episode 11 episode The Copycats. And then Nicholas Cantu took over the voice from The Copycats all the way to current day Gumball. All of the voice actors were switched out and had to be replaced because the voice actors for these characters kept going through puberty, and their voices kept changing, which made them get replaced because their voices became too deep. Although Nicholas Cantu is the most recent voice of Gumball, he was played by Duke Cutler in The Gumball Chronicles, which is a spin-off of the show, which makes me think that either Duke will keep voicing him or his voice will get replaced once again. Darwin has a very similar story with his voice being changed. He was played by Jake Pratt in the pilot episode, Kwesi Bauche played him from the beginning of season 1 all the way to the episode The Kids, and then Terrell Ransom Jr. took over from The Kids to The Copycats. After The Copycats, Darwin's voice was replaced by Donnell Hansley Jr., and then his voice got switched again in the season 6 episode, The Anybody. Christian J. Simon has been doing Darwin's voice ever since then. Despite his vocal talent and ability to sing really good songs in the show, Gumball is somehow failing music class. Darwin was originally designed for a show about mythological creatures hidden in a kid's backyard. That show was never made, but Baclette liked the design so much that he put him in the Amazing World of Gumball. Gumball and Darwin are the only characters to appear in almost every episode. I say almost because there's a few where Darwin hasn't appeared, and there's one episode where Gumball hasn't appeared. Darwin's name is a reference to Charles Darwin, who is famous for his theory of evolution, and this is represented by the Darwin fish symbol. Darwin was originally going to be a 3D animated character, but this was scrapped due to various difficulties. Darwin was inspired by Ben's childhood friend, Paul, and Darwin can even break glass with his high-pitched screams. Darwin has the longest name out of any character in the show. In the episode The Party, his full name is Darwin Raglan Caspin Ahab Poseidon Nicodemus Watterson III. However, this might not just be a bunch of random names all thrown together. Raglan could reference either a naval ship from World War I, or Raglan, a town in New Zealand known for its surf culture and dolphins. Ahab is likely a reference to Captain Ahab, a character who is obsessed with hunting the white whale. Poseidon could be a reference to the Greek god of the sea. And lastly, Nicodemus could reference Nicodemus the Haggarite, an 18th century saint known for his writings and spiritual contributions, as well as his deep love for all things. This combination of names adds a layer of depth to Darwin's character, potentially reflecting a mix of history, literacy, and mythological references. Nicole Watterson is implied to be the strongest character on the show. She can easily defeat Mr. Rex and literally transform into anime form. Nicole has actually been arrested multiple times. 2 charges include robbing a store with a hot dog and stealing her own car. Richard cannot hold a job, or else the universe will literally be destroyed. Richard is responsible for his family's financial trouble, because he often spends their money on the most stupidest things imaginable, or he literally just throws it away. Despite wearing a peanut shell, Penny is actually allergic to peanuts. The show had Gumball in the name before the main character was even created. Ben Baclette is allergic to cats, so it's a little strange he made a whole show based off one. In the episode The Ghost, the possessed version of Gumball is a reference to the detox hallucination baby from the film Trainspotting. Miss Simeon has been teaching since the Stone Age. That's 300,000 years. Miss Simeon's first name is Lucy, which is a reference to the first hominid to walk upright. Every episode has "the" in the title, except for the 2 holiday episodes, titled Halloween and Christmas. In season 2, Rocky's Bisou shirt is a reference to the band Kiss. This is because Bisou means kiss in French. Gumball is Cartoon Network UK's first original series. Ben Baclette voices Sussy's wailing, screaming, and laughter. In the episode The Shell, Penny comes out of her shell, revealing that she's a fairy-like shapeshifter who can change form based on her emotions, and she no longer lives in her shell after this episode. Penny's Medusa form is cut from episodes in certain countries. In The Origins, the Robinson house was originally painted dark green. However, in The Choices, the house was painted purple before the Wattersons moved in. The episode The Shell was largely inspired by Hayao Miyazaki. When Penny morphs into a dragon, it's a reference to Haku and his dragon from Spirited Away. The front doors of Elmore Junior High matches the colors of the Watterson children. The game Dodger Dare that Gumball and Darwin made up is the most dangerous board game ever created. The live-action pictures of the school are from Abraham Lincoln High School in San Francisco. The Victorian-style homes in the town resemble houses from Vallejo, California. And actually, most of Elmore is inspired by Vallejo, California. And this location has been confirmed to be Elmore in real life. The Amazing World of Gumball was originally going to be about a remedial school for rejected cartoon characters. The 3-eyed smiley face on Miss Simeon's door is a reference to the 2001 film Evolution. Despite being 10 years old, Darwin is a 7th grader just like Gumball. There's a club at Elmore Junior High called the Rejects Club. I guess that's one way to make sure everyone has a place to fit in. Nicole, Richard, and other adults in the show went to the same school that their kids currently attend. Elmore is geographically surrounded by large bodies of water that require a large bridge to cross. And Elmore also has a second dimension known as the Void, where all of its mistakes end up going. Mr. Small's first name is Steve, and this name came from his own character designer. Mr. Small's appearances are usually preceded by the strum of a sitar. The Robinsons were inspired by the Muppets. Though they resemble real puppets, don't be fooled because they're actually animated in CGI. Tina's design is inspired by the T-Rexes from King Kong and Jurassic Park. Carrie's 3D anaglyph outline is a reference to the old B-horror movies that were occasionally in 3D. movie. Carrie Cougar's name is a reference to two famous horror movie icons, Carrie and Freddy Cougar. Carrie was born a ghost and is the child of Vladis Legislav. Carrie's reflection doesn't show up in mirrors, but if she possesses someone, her reflection will replace the person that she's possessing. Carrie was possessed by the jealousy spirit in the episode The Flower, which means that a ghost can be possessed by another spirit. Richard is a pacifist, while Nicole is a fighter. Carrie's early design looks like a Boo from Mario. Richard is super lazy because his mom sheltered him and babied him as a kid. Her overprotective nature is the product of Richard's father leaving him when he was just a kid. Hector's name uses the prefix hecto, the factor of 100. His last name is a reference to the Norse word Jotunheimer, the homeland of giants. Tobias can change colors at will, and his mom and sister also have headbands just like him. Tobias is named after one of the show's writers, Toby Wilson. Mrs. Yodathum was inspired by Yubba from Spirited Away. Their designs are similar, and they both have giant, potentially destructive suns. The evil turtle's death is a reference to Ben Bucklet's own pet turtle dying of dehydration. The donut cop actually has a craving to eat donuts, despite being a donut. Wait, isn't that technically cannibalism? Alan and Carmen like each other and are going out, but their love can never be, because he's a balloon and Carmen is a cactus. If you do the math, something's gonna pop. After Rob escaped the void, his design was altered to be much more low res. His head is polygonal and his face occasionally turns to static, and one of his feet are a wireframe. In The Nobody, Rob swears vengeance on Gumball and Darwin after they ignored him in the void, becoming their arch nemesis for future episodes. It's implied that Idaho's family is actually based on the Amish. In the episode The Finale, it's revealed that Larry has taken on a multitude of jobs to pay for the damages that were caused by the water sins. No wonder he doesn't like them. Larry works at Laser Video, Elmar Gas Station, Food and Stuff, Joyful Burger, Shoe Store, Ripley 2000, Fervidus Pizza, Elmore Shopping, and also is an accountant, ice cream vendor, pest control, and a repairman. If Larry ever stops working, the entire economic structure of Elmore would collapse. In The Banana, it's revealed that Banana Joe's eyes and mouth can be removed and stuck back on, so he has a whole closet of spares. The population of Elmore is a modest 20,000 people, suggesting that it's a somewhat large town or small city in the USA. This is odd though, given the presence of high-rise office towers in Elmore, which are usually only in major cities. Banana Joe's personality and appearance are inspired by the term top banana. Gumball looks like Nicole, but behaves like Richard, while Anais looks like Richard and has a similar personality to Nicole. The inspiration for Anais is Ben's own sister Anais, who is a computer programmer in real life. Anais is one of the more mature and intelligent members of her family. She even makes Gumball and Darwin breakfast in the morning. The live-action location shots that are used in the show are filmed mainly in California, New York, and the UK. Ben cites Who Framed Roger Rabbit as an inspiration for the mixed media approach to the show. Gumball and Darwin's Make the Most of It rap sneaks in a subtle reference to Brad Neely's famous George Washington rap. The show's executive producer Daniel Leonard considers The Amazing World of Gumball the ultimate boys show.
It just needs some mozzarella. There.
Much of the 3D rendering work on Gumball is done at Studio Soy, an animation studio in Ludwigsburg, Germany. Other 2D and 3D animation work not completed at Studio Soy is completed by Boulder Media, an animation company based in Dublin, Ireland. Gumball is produced as a storyboard-driven show, meaning that its storyboard artists don't work from a script, but rather a loose story outline. And this is what Ben attributes the spontaneity of the show to. Gumball's classmate, William, the Flying Eye, is not only a tattletale snitch, but he even resembles a golden snitch from the Harry Potter series. The character Neckbeard bears a uncanny resemblance to Pikachu from Pokemon. The official Gumball comics published by Boom Studios ran for a total of 8 issues before cancellations. The G is the first Gumball episode where Darwin is seen wearing pants. Carlton, Troy, Santa Claus, Mr. Crease, and Superintendent Evil are the only human characters to appear in the show. Originally, Troy, Carlton, and Mr. Crease were going to be animals. Troy was a bird, Carlton was a dog, and Mr. Crease was a beaver. Despite being a suburban neighborhood, Elmore has its own airline, which is renowned for its lack of legroom. Gumball is admitted to being to the hospital way more times than any other character in the series. Gumball, Darwin, Tina, and Penny are all playable characters in the Cartoon Network MMO Project Project Exonaut. There are over 50 original songs sung throughout the Gumball series. Sussy, her parents, the Butterfly, and Superintendent Evil are the only characters in Gumball that utilize live-action characters. Darwin is revealed to be allergic to feathers in the episode The Allergy, as we see in The Origins. Gumball has had countless other orange fish named Darwin that he owned before Darwin. The name Gumball was chosen as the title of the show because Ben Bucklett wanted to call it something that would remind people of their childhood, so he named it after something that every child might have in their pocket. Ben Bucklett worked hard as a development artist for Cartoon Network. When he was asked by the VP of Development to pitch some cartoon ideas, at the time he had pitched Gumball, as well as another show involving cryptozoology. What the heck is that, you ask? It's the study of evidence that proves the formerly unproven existence of the Loch Ness Monster or the Abominable Snowman. It took 9 months from when the show was originally pitched to when it was greenlit, mostly because the original concept was rejected. Ben based the show off a family sitcom, but replaced normal human characters with nonsensical creatures. Many gags and storylines in the show are loosely based off real instances that occurred in Ben's family. Ben attributes the success of the show to the authenticity that comes with basing the show on real life. He has also always desired wanting to make a show with a mixed media format, because he believes it's what makes the show so distinctive. Art director Anton Perez helped create the mixed media design with ease, by using his own method in designing the show's background. Anton even used VFX tactics to incorporate the different types of media in the show. The reasons the background in the show are realistic is because Ben wants to portray Elmore as a place that actually exists in the real world. As we already know, the Wattersons' house and the Robinsons' house were both filmed on location in Vallejo, California. This area was particularly chosen because of its 50s, 60s style architecture that you'd probably expect in a family sitcom. To find out which jokes were featured in the show, pretty much the entire writing staff has to laugh at a joke unanimously. Therefore, some jokes were written fast, and others were more labor intensive. The Wattersons' last name is a reference to Bill Watterson, the creator of Calvin and Hobbes. The Robinsons' house address in real life is 1022 York Street, Vallejo, California. The show was originally meant to end after season 3, but due to fan support and critical acclaim, it was extended. Terry, the paper bear, is one of the few characters animated to look like a literal paper cutout to reflect her germophobic and delicate personality. Despite being a dinosaur, Tina Rex is one of the most emotionally vulnerable characters, often shown crying or needing reassurance. Carrie has a band called the Safety Coffins, a reference to old burial devices that would let you alert someone if you're buried alive. Mrs. Robinson and Barbara Banana are some of the only characters to never speak in the show. Despite Elmore Junior High supposedly being the local school, the Wattersons have to drive through a busy expressway just to get there. The show has parodied countless genres, including horror, anime, courtroom dramas, musical, and sci-fi all in the same season. The sales agreement Jeff signs in The Sale reveals the Robinson home to be 1,530 square feet. This is much smaller than its real-world counterpart, which is 2,310 square feet. There are many shows who have tried to copy the amazing world of Gumball, one of which being Miracle Star, which is a cheap Chinese knockoff of Gumball. But instead of taking the boring approach and suing them, Cartoon Network decided to clap back at Miracle Star by making their own episode called The Copycats to make fun of the show. And in Gumball's version, they used their own original character versions of the Miracle Star copycats, naming them Chi-Chi and Ribbit. Another show that closely resembles Gumball and has even been accused of copying it is Pinky Malenky, which seems to be mostly original but has a lot of similar elements to Gumball. The show's sound designer uses household items like plastic cups and bubble wrap for many of the sound effects. The writer's room intentionally blocked how often they use certain recurring jokes to avoid burnout, like the use of fourth wall breaks. In The Origins, the Robinson house was sold to the Robinsons, but in The Heart, while showing a flashback when the Watterson family moved next door, Mr. Robinson is shown to already be moved in, which is a pretty big plot hole. Nicole's maiden name is Senicourt, which is subtly referenced on the paperwork in the choices. Despite being a minor character, Carmen the cactus has a complex personality and is sometimes shown being manipulative. The character Clayton is made of literal clay and has different animation styles depending on his mood in different episodes. The house that Larry lives in is based on 918 Capitol Street, Vallejo, California. The Wattersons TV often plays generic stock footage. This heavily contrasts the madness of the rest of the show. Some of the background characters are animated using recycled rigs from earlier versions of characters. Darwin's singing voice is done by different actors than his speaking voice in certain musical numbers. Some of the locations in the show, like Elmore Mall or Laser teaser video are photo-scanned real-world locations. Miss Simeon's original concept art depicted her as a hunched-over librarian with a gothic look. Gumball has impersonated nearly every main character at some point, with his body often morphing in different weird ways to mock the character. The swimming pool area in Elmore Junior High closely resembles the gym, which suggests that they may be located in the same place. But this is contradicted in The Club, where both the pool and gym area are shown. In The Remote, the Wattersons reenact Lord of the Flies in their battle for TV dominance. Darwin sometimes refers to Gumball as Dude more than by his name, showing their casual friendship. Leslie the Flower was initially designed to be a female character, but this was changed last minute. The show has a subtle rule. If it would happen in a sitcom, it must happen more chaotically in Elmore. Tobias and Rachel are so far the only characters, along with their family, known to live on the outskirts of Elmore, as shown in The Third and The Party, though this may have been contradicted in Christmas, as the Wilsons are shown to be living on the same street as the Wattersons. In The Disaster, time rewinds multiple times, referencing Groundhog Day and possibly Run Lola Run. The character Ocho is based on 8-bit sprite art, and has glitch powers as a result. The episode The Gripes pokes fun at online comment sections and toxic fandom culture. There's a running theory that Rob is the only character aware of being in a cartoon, and this is supported by his arc in later seasons. Mr. Small's obsession with crystals is a parody of New Age pseudoscience culture. The phrase "The Amazing World of" was added later in development to help market the show internationally. The animators often used real textures, like fabric scans and paper, to add depth to characters and environments. To maintain consistency, a custom software was developed to help manage the integration of various animation styles. The character designs intentionally break traditional animation rules, allowing for more expressive and exaggerated movements. The production team used a color script for each episode to ensure emotional consistency throughout the scenes. The boys' bathroom sign changes colors in different episodes. Banana Joe's personality was based off of the classic slapstick comedy from the 1920s. The show's visual style evolves subtly over the seasons to reflect the character's growth in the passage of time. One of the biggest examples of this is Gumball and Darwin's designs, with them both having bold big shadows in season 1 and more oval-shaped eyes. But by season 2, their characters got a complete redesign, going for more of a light shadow and rounded edges on the characters. And by the end of season 6, the characters look way more polished. I can only imagine how they'll look in season 7. Darwin's evolution from a pet fish to a fully integrated family member in The Origins symbolizes themes of growth and acceptance. Darwin was bought out of a mysterious van when he was just a baby, and later, through his emotional bond with Gumball, he grew legs and lungs which helped him survive on land. Anais, despite being the youngest, often serves as a voice of reason, highlighting the reversal of traditional family roles. Nicole's character explores the challenges of balancing career ambitions with family responsibilities. Also, her parents had super high standards for her, with ridiculous examples such as her mom getting mad at her for having an F in gender, even though she's just a girl. And they even gave Nicole the first name Doctor, because they wanted her to be a doctor, so her full legal name is Dr. Nicole Watterson. That's insane. Richard, on the other hand, embodies the concept of eternal childhood, providing a contrast to Nicole's seriousness. The show's soundtrack blends various genres, including electronic, orchestral, and jazz, to match the show's crazy visuals. The show frequently parodies internet culture, involving memes and viral videos. Gumball has been translated into over 20 languages, expanding its global reach. They've also made merchandise including toys, clothing, and comic books. Fan art and online communities have played a significant role in the show's enduring success. And they even made an episode referencing weird fan shippings, and this episode is called The Shippening. The Amazing World of Gumball has won several awards. It received the Best Children's Series Award and the Children's Choice Award in the British Academy Children's Awards in 2018. Gumball has 6 seasons. The series produced a total of 240 episodes, each averaging about 11 minutes in length. One of Gumball's voice actors, Nicholas Cantu, had their own YouTube channel at one point called Junkie Janker, but then later he ended up getting in some drama with Dream, and after that he deleted a lot of his online presence. Leslie is the only male character who is a member of the Treehouse Girls. In The Origins, it's revealed that a massive desert surrounds Elmore. Ben Baclette also voiced multiple characters himself in the show, like Banana Joe's dad and a bunch of other minor characters. Jacob Hopkins, who voiced Gumball in the later seasons, started his acting career at the age of 5. Terrell Ransom Jr., the voice of Darwin, is also known for his role on Days of Our Lives. Kayla Ray Kowaleski, who voices Anais, began her acting career with Gumball at just 9 years old. The show's voice actors often recorded their lines together, which helped them make the scene sound more natural. natural. Logan Grove, the original voice of Gumball, transitioned into live-action roles after his time on the show. Christian J. Simon, who voices Darwin in the later seasons, also appeared in Disney Channel's Sydney to the Max. The Disaster and the Rerun form a two-part story at the end of Season 4 to the beginning of Season 5, with the main villain Rob trying to defeat Gumball. And the episode The Choices shows a glimpse into Nicole's past, and we get to see what would happen if she got with different partners. Jacob Hopkins, who voiced Gumball in Seasons 3 through 5, often shared that he developed a unique laugh for the Gumball character. The school showering stalls have been destroyed twice in the series. The first time was in the skull, and the second time was in the voice. The internal working title from the episode The Void was The Leftovers, but they changed it due to the HBO show of the same name. In a behind-the-scenes interview, an animator revealed that Carrie's 3D ghost aura is the hardest visual effect to composite in the entire show. The word Elmore is from a surname which comes from, I'm about to pronounce this so bad, Oflinmir, which is an Old English name that is a compound of noble and famous. Nicole's anime transformation was originally supposed to have a voiceover in Japanese with subtitles, but it was eventually cut for pacing reasons. An early design of Rob shows him using an arm and a hand as a third leg. In the Portuguese dub, Richard's voice is far more serious and competent sounding, which fans say changed his character entirely. At the time of recording this video, Gumball has officially been on the air for 14 years, airing from 2011 to 2025. In The Upgrade, it's revealed that there's a large line of various Bobbert models, including New Bobbert, which is an upgraded version of Bobbert. In Miss Simeon's office, behind her is a portrait of someone who looks like a mix of Mr. Robinson and George Washington. Laser Video in the Gumball universe is a hybrid of the name Family Video and Laserdisc. Ocho's glitch powers are a visual metaphor for anxiety. His pixelation gets worse as he gets nervous or ignored. Richard's obesity is never mocked in universe. Characters insult his laziness, but not his body, which was a deliberate decision by the writers. Rob's name was first revealed after people were asking one of the show's creators, James Lamont, who the Blue Cyclops from The Party was. At first, jokingly, he responded with, "We don't speak of him," but after more asking, he gave in and revealed his name. Rob's descent into villainy parallels real-world parasocial obsession. He begins as a fan of Gumball who becomes jealous and twisted over time. Gumball has been heavily implied on various occasions throughout the series, as well as confirmed by Ben Bucklat on Twitter, to be bisexual or pansexual. This is yet to be explicitly confirmed in the series, however. It's never been confirmed how long Richard and Nicole have been married, but with some clues in the show, we can make an educated guess. Gumball is 12 years old, and Nicole was already married to Richard before he was born. In the episode The Choices, we see a flashback of Nicole and Richard dating, getting married, and starting a family shortly after. Nicole was around 20 years old when she finally met Richard in college, and Nicole was around 38 to 40 years old in the present day, so assuming she married Richard at around the age of 22, they likely have been married for 16 to 18 years. The episode The Copycats was banned in China, not because of satire, but because it featured unapproved character archetypes. Right. In some international dubs, the characters' names are changed. Darwin is called Nemo in parts of Eastern Europe, which was confusing to fans. The episode The Ollie reveals that Gumball is great at skateboarding, but only when no one is watching him. The series finale, The Inquisition, was mistakenly aired in Latin America, sparking conspiracy theories about the show being canceled mid-season. In Russia, the show was briefly pulled from the air due to scenes that promoted rebellion against authority. Later, this was reinstated after edits. The Night is considered the least aired episode worldwide, due to its disturbing dreamlike content and lighting effects. According to Richard in Ancestor Art, which is an episode of the Gumball Chronicles, Frankie's mom is a cockatoo. Rocky's x-ray shows that he doesn't have a skull. Instead, he just has a hand where his skull should be. This is a joke based off him being a puppet. Gumball was nominated for an Emmy in 2017, but it lost to Bob the Builder, a fact that the creator tweeted about bitterly. One animator admitted that working on The Singing gave him tetanitis because of the endless loop of Darwin's high-pitched notes. Rocky's age varies depending on the source. In The Mystery, his age is stated to be 27, but on the official Japanese website, it says that he's 31. In The Loophole, Bobbert mentions System 32, referring to a special folder in the Windows operating system containing executables important to its normal functioning. In The Pizza, Gumball reveals that Laser Video is his favorite store. In In the uploads, Richard beats the hardest game in the world, Calculator. Gaylord Robinson, the Wattersons' neighbor, openly dislikes and tries to avoid their antics. The official Elmore map, used by the writers, never matches what's seen on screen, and this was on purpose to reflect cartoon logic. It's not clear exactly what kind of job Nicole does, though she is seen answering phones in the Rainbow Complaints office in the game. Margaret Robinson is easily the most evil character in the show. She's very similar to Mr. Robinson, except she never shows any real emotion or character development. Many fans think she's literally the devil herself. Frankie Watterson abandoned his family, leaving Richard to be raised by Granny JoJo alone. The episode The Signal contains a real error message from Adobe Animate, and this was left in intentionally. Gumball has over 49,000 fanfics across various sites, more than Gravity Falls and regular show combined. The phrase, "it's so dumb it's deep," became a meme among fans to describe episodes like The Job or The Loophole. There are over 300 characters in the show, but only 12 appear in more than 50 episodes. The shipping of Gumball x Darwin became so widespread online that it was explicitly mocked in the shippening. In a 2019 survey of Cartoon Network animators, Gumball was voted the hardest show to storyboard due to its surreal transitions. Fans discovered an alternate dub of The Responsible, where Gumball uses the F word. This was likely a glitch though on a foreign streaming service. The episode The End is often mistaken as the true finale of the series, but it aired midway through season 2, so it was just a red herring. The clown first appears in season 3 episode 10 titled The Procrastinators, and he is voiced by Mick Graves, who is also the show's director and executive producer, and this clown creepily shows up in the background of multiple episodes. But there's a theory that this clown is actually trying to kidnap Gumball and Darwin, but for some reason he can't. But before I tell you why, let me redirect your attention to that shiny subscribe button. You know you want to click it. Anyways, the reason is that us, the viewers, are watching him, so he doesn't want to get caught. The clown has no name and is never directly addressed by one in dialogue, adding to this creepy mystery. Despite his scary look, he's never physically harmed anyone. He just sticks to psychological fear. Many fans theorize that the clown may be a metaphor for anxiety or intrusive thoughts, due to his timing and presence. As I said earlier, the Watterson house is modeled after a real location in Vallejo, California, but the interior layout doesn't match the outside, which fans have debated for years. Richard might actually not be dumb. Let me explain. We all know that Richard is just seen as your typical cartoon dad, and this is because of his really messed up childhood, which includes a lot of things like his father abandoning him when he was just a young child, leading his mother to baby him so hard and force feed him to the point of dumbness. Richard was constantly bullied as a young kid by Tobias's father, and he was even tricked into believing that he was supposed to be the prom king. Him being a lonely child made it so that his only friend was the magic fridge where he kept all of his memories, which he had to learn to let go of when he got older. Nicole's anime sequence in The Fury was animated at 24 FPS, which is double the usual frame rate for the show, making it the smoothest sequence ever aired. Background characters like Jamie are sometimes rendered at lower resolutions during crowd shots to speed up rendering. Billy speaks with a British accent, being one of the few supporting characters in the show who do. Richard might actually be in crippling debt, and we find this out in the episode The Uncle, when Richard tries to buy 100 expired donuts with his credit card, but for some reason it gets declined. But thankfully, Larry lets him sign up for an in-store credit card. But the problem with this is that this card has insane interest. Anton is the character who has died the most times. I don't know exactly how many, but it has to be in the hundreds. In The Society, Rocky reveals that his ATM number is 0380. His email password is RockyRockXXX, and his Elmore Plus password is Unbreakable. The design of Elmore Mall was actually inspired by the Mary Hill Shopping Center located in Berkeley Hill, West Midlands, England. Nicole's voice actress, Teresa Gallagher, also voices Penny and Margaret Robinson, making her one of the most versatile voice actors in the show. In the Czech dub, Mr. Small's voice is far deeper and sounds like a cult leader. In the Brazilian dub of The Singing, there's a completely different melody for Darwin's solo, due to the localization of rhyme schemes. One of Darwin's voice actors admitted he would record screaming lines by jumping into a pillow from across the room. Anaïs's French voice actress is a stage actor who performs Shakespeare. During the first season, Gumball seems to have trouble remembering Alan's name, calling him Adrian, Alfred, Andrew, Arthur, Alex, and so many other names. Gumball's Spanish dub features a more sarcastic tone, which fans believe makes him more unlikable than the original voice. Ocho's voice is pitched down electronically to make him sound more like a robot. Voice actors for Gumball occasionally receive fake scripts to prevent leaks. One fake script involved Gumball and Darwin becoming truckers, and honestly, I want this to be an episode now. That sounds awesome! Gumball was originally gonna be a cat named Bobby. In early concept art, he was a blue cat named Bobby who wore a red hoodie. In Turkey, the girlfriend was pulled from TV after conservative backlash over Darwin cross-dressing. In almost every photo shoot Alan appears in, his facial features look very realistic and human-like. However, in episodes such as The Storm, his pictures, especially with Carmen, show him with his usual appearance. The animators use Maya and Adobe After Effects for the show. 3D elements like Banana Joe's head and the Void were modeled in Maya and then composited with 2D layers. Dan Russell, the voice actor for Richard Watterson, also voices several other characters in the show, like Penny's dad, Dr. Butt, Coach Russo, Donut Cop, Egghead, and Tina Rex. The episode The Stories was accidentally uploaded to Cartoon Network's channel before the episode even released. It was taken down within 12 minutes though, so they got to it quick. The Refund was originally aired out of order, confusing viewers because it takes place before Gumball meets Rob. It's revealed in The Photo that Alan anonymously donates all of his allowances to charity. He never tells anyone about it because he cares very much about the cause. It's revealed in The Storm that whatever Alan eats gets turned into literal air. Some dubs censor Darwin in a bathtub by adding bubbles over areas that were already PG. Every episode of season 6 features at least one glitch or reality break, foreshadowing the last episode of the season. There's a popular theory that Elmore exists in a post-apocalyptic world, and the characters are all mutated survivors. This theory even has its own wiki page. Fans notice that each family member represents a sitcom archetype. Gumball is the class clown, Darwin has a big heart, Nicole's the straight man, Richard's a fool, and Anais is the brains. When Alan's voice is pitched down, it sounds very similar to Tobias's voice, as they were both voiced by the same person. Some fans believe Mr. Small's a time traveler, because he never ages and knows about events before they happen. Principal Brown and Miss Simeon are implied to be teaching since the 1800s. This is hinted at in The Ape and The Legacy, suggesting that time is unstable in Elmore. There is an entire subreddit dedicated to mapping the layout of the Watterson house based on clues from different episodes. Rob is the only character who's aware he's in a cartoon for most of the series. His descent into the void awakened this awareness, leading to his obsession with fixing the world. A popular meme compares Gumball to BoJack Horseman, for how both shows balance humor and existential dread. Fans call it BoJack for Zoomers. The creators once joked that Richard Watterson is technically immortal, since he's been hit by trucks, exploded, and fallen off cliffs with no permanent change. A real Gumball video game was pitched in 2016, but it never got past concept art. Screenshots though showed a platformer involving the void. There's a theory that Gumball and Darwin live in a computer simulation. This theory almost makes too much sense to me, because we all know that in Elmore there's a mix of 2D characters, 3D characters, and so much more. And the vibes of the show remind me of an early 2000s computer game, which leads me to believe that the Amazing World of Gumball takes place in a computer simulation. Anais's real name is Anais Watterson, and Mr. Robinson's real name is Gaylord Robinson. Every episode title card in season 6 hides a visual glitch symbol somewhere in the design, referencing Rob tempering with reality. The animators once considered an episode where Gumball enters the real world and becomes a badly composited 2D character in real life. This is the most sus moment in the Amazing World of Gumball. Richard's driver's license shows his birthday is February 31st, implying he's not even real in his own universe. There has been multiple anime references in the Amazing World of Gumball. First is in the episode The Past, where Gumball goes Super Saiyan, which is from the anime Dragon Ball Z. Next is in The Lie, where Richard floats using Sky Moon Prism power, which is based off of Sailor Moon. And another one I found is in the episode The Choices, where Nicole Naruto runs. There's a lot more, but if I went over all them, I'd be here all day. In The Boss, it's shown that Rocky can surprisingly whistle with his butt. In The Butterfly, Rocky is shown hitting Allison with his quote weak arm, which happens to be his right arm. This may imply that Rocky is left-handed. In The Factory, it's revealed that there are 50 workers in the Rainbow Factory. There's a location called the Forest of Doom in Gumball. It's located in what appears to be a large park in Elmore. When viewed from far above the trees, it possesses an uncanny resemblance to a human skull. Miss Simeon's chalkboard often contains real Latin phrases, like Noil di Tengi, which means do not touch me, and Memento Mori, which means remember you will die. Unlike most stereotypical gym coaches, Coach Russo is overweight and unathletic. For example, while she was chasing Miss Simeon as a zombie in The Joy, she had to stop every few steps to catch her breath. Contrary to popular belief, Gumball can swim and dive just fine. His primitive cat instincts just make him sometimes believe that he can't. In Brazil, Banana Joe's name was changed to Joaquim Banana, a pun that accidentally matched a real politician's name. Sal Left Thumb's song, In the Boredom, reveals that he wanted to pursue a career in music, but he turned to a life of crime because he was rejected by the producers. Several episodes underwent title changes during production. For instance, the world was originally titled The Objects, and the fraud was originally called The Phony. Gumball has 6 whiskers, but only 5 are visible due to the animation style. Granny JoJo has a lot in common with Sheila from South Park. For example, she is extremely overprotective towards her family, speaks in a New Jersey accent, and has trouble admitting when she's wrong. The episode The Nest reveals that Gumball's evil pet turtle is a female, a fact that was foreshadowed by her desire to reproduce in the puppy. Granny JoJo has so much metal in her that she is legally classified as a motorized vehicle, and this is according to what she said in The Man. Despite Sal Left Thumb's dangerous nature, his preferred weapon for robbing is a simple old rusty spoon. In The Debt, it's shown that Mr. Robinson is a very good singer and dancer. This is also seen again in the episode The Singing. Larry's paycheck in the finale shows he earns exactly $3.72 per job. No matter what it is, bro is literally working for pennies. In early concepts, Tobias was designed without lips, and his character underwent several changes before finalization. Storyboard artists were encouraged to add their own jokes and visual gags, leading to more of a collaborative creative process. Over the seasons, character designs were subtly refined to improve animation fluidity and expressiveness. Nicole calls Gumball the nickname Gummy Puss in the episode The Meddler. Nicole's fight stance in The Fury was modeled after Chun-Li from Street Fighter frame by frame. Gumball's whiskers are inset like his mother's, but they pop out like his father's when his girlfriend Penny tells him they need more space in the episode The Rose. Ocho's real name is Harry Tootmorsel. Gumball is the only male character in the show with big hips that stand out from the rest of his body. Mr. Robinson owns a pearl white 1964 Lincoln Continental, which appears in several episodes, but most notably in the car. The Amazing World of Gumball has a massive production team, with a staggering 100 people working on the show. All 3 of the Watterson kids are actually voiced by kids, which Ben thought added an interesting dynamic. Juke's name comes from the jukebox, which is a machine that plays and records music, which was somewhat common in the 1950s to 1970s. Jamie was originally designed to be a boy, but the crew thought a female bully dynamic would add more variety. Darwin's squeaky shoes were recorded by using a dog toy pressed repeatedly against a hardwood floor. Ben claims the biggest lesson he learned while making Gumball is that in order to really engage an audience, the show must represent its creator. The episode titled The End is Ben Bucklet's favorite. He claims despite seeing it a million times, the jokes still make him laugh. The show's creative team are all fanboys of the 1980s era, which is what unite all of them on this project. Gumball features various film references and nods to the 80s because of the major influence that had over the show. To be specific, it was Spielberg films, as well as other 80s Golden Age cinema titles, such as Back to the Future and Karate Kid. Anais's favorite toy is Daisy the Donkey, and I don't think she's capable of living without her. The show's logo is pixelated on purpose as yet another nod to the 80s. Ben Bucklet wanted to give Gumball braces at one point, but the animators couldn't figure out how to make them look right in 2D. All of the Wattersons actually became humans briefly in the episode The Nuisance, and they actually looked really weird, but the other human characters in the episode The Inquisition actually kind of looked fire. As the series progresses, Mr. Robinson becomes somewhat friendlier to Gumball and Darwin, with the exception of the season 4 episode The Sale. Mr. Robinson is one of the few characters from season 1 that never underwent a design change. The showrunners originally pitched a season 7 art where Rob merges with the Void and permanently becomes a godlike glitch, but Cartoon Network vetoed it. A running gag in several episodes is that whenever Coach attempts to whistle, she fails miserably and spews saliva at her students in the process. The animators use Google Street View to lay out several background neighborhoods in the show. Looney Tunes, South Park, and The Simpsons were credited as the biggest inspirations for Gumball. In 2010, the show started out as a storyboard-driven show, using photographs to start before jumping directly into the storyboarding process. But now, episodes are entirely scripted first, and then heavily developed during the storyboarding phase. The only thing that Mrs. Robinson ever says in the show is, meh. Mrs. Robinson's hair is much more gray than usual in the later seasons, indicating that her wig is either losing its color or that she's aging. Darwin's eyes were originally meant to be small and far apart, resembling a real goldfish, but the crew thought it was too unsettling. In addition to the storylines, most of the characters in the show were based off real people in Ben's life, and it's more than just his family that's featured in the cartoon. The Robinsons were his actual neighbors growing up. The show is noted for its proper storytelling, writing. One of the many reasons why people who work on the show feel like it became such a huge success. The rainbow, often used in the show's design, is representative of the show itself, and how all of the characters in it are very diverse, yet all come together to create something beautiful. Director McGraves expressed his love for the more cinematic approach often displayed in the show. His favorite scene to work on was the car chase scene with Miss Simeon in season 1. The Gumball writing staff used tabletop writing to come up with the show's episodes. Basically, someone comes up with a funny idea, and the other writers would build off it and make suggestions until they have a really solid episode idea. Mr. Small's van is a real vehicle modeled in 3D, using photo from an actual Volkswagen used by a crew member. Nicole's high school outfit from The Choices was based off Ben Bucklett's sketchbook doodles from college. Despite being unathletic, coaches somehow won 3 gold medals in trampolining. The fish tank Darwin came from in The Origins was based off a real fish tank in a Cartoon Network writer's office. The creator Ben Bucklett is 44 years old, and he's been doing animation ever since he was 12. According to the Gumball wiki, there are a ton of lost characters who were designed but never made. These include characters like Butthead, Worm, and Poop Guy. The writers confirm in an AMA that Richard canonically doesn't know how to spell his last name. Coach Russo won the 1986 Olympics in Elmore, but in actuality, there was no 1986 Olympics, meaning that Coach might have lied about her winning the Olympics, or they may have happened in the show's universe, I don't really know. Darwin treats his feet like private parts, because every time we see him in the show without shoes, his feet are censored. The Gumball team pitched an April Fool's episode where every character's voice was swapped with the wrong one, but ultimately Cartoon Network rejected it. Banana Joe's voice actor once voiced every character in a scratch track for The Banana, just to save him time. Season 4 introduced a whole host of new characters into the show. This played into one of the main storylines of the season, which is that Elmore has far more students than Gumball and Darwin ever realized. To come up with ideas for the show, the writers often reference their own childhoods for inspiration. In The Hug, it's revealed that Hot Dog Guy's name is actually Hot Dog Guy. Despite being somewhat prominent in the show, Molly does not have a bio on any Cartoon Network sites, unlike some of the other minor characters who have bios. That just really goes to show how irrelevant Molly is. Sarah replaced Molly in season 2, and Molly didn't reappear officially until The Void. It's revealed in The Flower that Leslie and Penny are cousins. Once the writers come up with a concept for an episode, they start working on fitting in gags wherever they can. It's the second most important step in the writing process, considering this is a comedy show. The episode The Genius has a long math equation on the board. It actually equals 42, and it's also a Hitchhiker's Guide reference. Ocho's glitch sprites are based on the NES Mega Man enemies, with the team having to tweak them just enough to avoid copyright. There were some rumors that in the past, Ben initially pitched the show to Adult Swim, but he confirmed this wasn't true on Twitter. But he did note that he would like to drop an idea on Adult Swim one day. Gumball was the very first show to be produced on Cartoon Network Studios Europe. The studio opened in 2007, and Gumball started production in 2009. The fact that the show has been on the air for so long amazes Ben Bucklett. He thought that it would last for at most 3 seasons. The puppets originally had a scrap joke where Gumball got trapped in a sock puppet and begs to be burned. Banana Joe's ringtone in season 4 is literally a fart. One of the lead people on the Gumball team, Sarah Fell, has her own character being based after her, Sarah Gelato, and Sarah even has her own nickname for the character. She refers to herself as the DOGG Scoop Dog. Mrs. Robinson has cheated on her husband twice, once in The Boss and once in The Slide. Since Jamie doesn't have any knees, she either waddles or kicks her legs when she walks. For some reason, it makes a goose stepping motion when she does. The web was meant to include a fake wiki called Elmorepedia, but CN Legal didn't clear it. Ben has mentioned that it's been hard to keep the quality of the show at such a high standard. He thinks it's important though to keep it so that the writers don't get bored. In the name, Gumball has an alter ego named Zach, and his evil laugh was made using a reversed audio file of a seagull scream. Despite his feelings for Miss Simeon, Principal Brown threatened to fire her if she kept framing Gumball and Darwin in the apology, and he even sent her back to the 8th grade at the end of the grades, after discovering that Miss Simeon cheated on him back in the day. According to an artist on the Gumball team, the character Louie has a back tattoo that says property of Granny JoJo, which is never visible in the show, and thank God for that, honestly. I don't want to see that. The type of cat Nicole takes after hasn't been confirmed in the show. However, it's possible that she's a tabby. In the episode The Job, when everyone turns into their live-action counterparts in the car, Nicole changes into an adorable tabby, which makes sense because blue cats don't even exist. It's proven that Mrs. Robinson is wearing a wig in the car when Gumball and Darwin hit it with a ball, causing it to fall off. Tobias's voice actor was told to channel a bro who's never read a book during casting. Contrary to common belief, Donut Cop is not a sheriff, and this is proven by the fact that a close-up close-up of his badge reads Chief of Police, and that the other officers refer to him as Chief. The donut cop shares several similarities with Chief Wiggum from The Simpsons. For example, he appears to be incapable of working with the police due to his ignorance. His voice sounds similar to Wiggum, and he likes to eat donuts frequently. We all know that Nicole isn't the calmest character in the show, although she does go to anger management. Whether it's useful or not hasn't been decided. Tobias and Gumball weigh 180 pounds combined as shown in the Society. Nicole's anime mode eyes in The Fury were inspired by Kill la Kill, according to the lead animator. Most people who have never seen the show mistake Alan for a female, possibly because of her eyelashes, which are more common on female characters, and also because of his high voice, which is caused by helium. But Alan is actually a dude. In a fake Cartoon Network press release, one claimed a crossover between Gumball and Clarence. It was later revealed to be an elaborate April Fool's joke by a staffer. The Chinese dub of Gumball uses different music cues during fight scenes to emphasize comedy over action. There's a good amount of Gumball merch out there, but some McDonald's toys have Gumball wearing a red vest and shoes, which is very different from what he usually wears in the show. Bobber is one of the characters who were originally created by Ben Boclet for old commercial pitches. In a scrapped plotline, Nicole was supposed to have a long-lost twin sister who was even more intense and competitive. According to the Gumball wiki, Sussy's species is Chinkin. Did you know that there was a whole sequence in The Weirdo that was entirely drawn by children? So if you ever think you can't do something, just remember that literal children have provided art for an internationally acclaimed cartoon. While the kids themselves didn't animate the entire sequence, the kids did draw all of the art that was used. Ben expressed that The Weirdo was supposed to resonate with people who felt misunderstood. Darwin canonically cannot grow fingernails, which is why he slaps instead of punches. Tobias has become notably less popular with the other kids in the school as the series has progressed. Like most creators, Ben is hard on himself when it comes to Gumball. He feels like he fell short on season 1 because he wanted it to be 40 episodes, but it landed on a measly 36 episodes instead. To fix this, season 6 of Gumball got bumped up to 44 episodes. Boclet wanted to do this to make up for season 1 being 4 episodes short than every other season. The oldest character in all of Gumball easily has to be Miss Simian, because she is over 300,000 years old. I don't think any other character even comes close to her in age. Sussy's eyes are always looking in different directions. This was a deliberate choice to make her always feel off. Clayton seems to suffer from mythomania, which is a behavior when the victim has the incapacity to talk about past events without nonsensical lies. The original pilot that was released in 2008 had a bunch of differences, like Gumball and Darwin's different designs. The show was originally planned to focus on Nicole, Gumball's mom, as the main protagonist. Concept was later reworked to focus more on Gumball and Darwin, but Nicole still remains one of the main characters in the series. An episode called The Rex was planned but never fully produced. It would have focused on Tina Rex's dad, a full-size T-Rex, who was supposed to be the most powerful being in Elmore. Tobias's design was inspired by 1980s workout videos. The leg warmers and sweatband were added as a joke, but were never removed. Originally, Penny's true form, a shape-shifting fairy, was supposed to be revealed as a curse, making it impossible for her and Gumball to be together. But the creators decided to change it into a positive transformation instead. The Elmore Junior High lockers are recycled 3D models from an abandoned Cartoon Network pilot project called Dr. Lollipop. Penny has a total of 8 unique transformations across the series. Banana Joe's mom, Barbara Banana, can actually paint pictures that see into the future, which builds a lot of lore that we haven't seen yet, like the Watterson family in the Void, and it even predicts events that happen at the end of season 6. Idaho canonically lives off the grid. His house doesn't appear on Elmore's map or in the city's power registry. A recurring gag in season 2 is Principal Brown having to stop his car, usually to make room for the Wattersons. This has occurred in The Remote, The Job, Christmas, and the internet. Gumball and Darwin weren't chosen to be a catfish duo by accident. Ben wanted to show off a dynamic that usually wouldn't work in real life. Richard's shirt size is Omega XXL. This was made up by the writers because nothing else fits. They really did my boy Richard dirty with that one. Ocho was almost named Pixel initially, but that name was already trademarked. Clayton is canonically banned from every Elmore sporting event due to turning into balls and cheating. Jamie was originally planned to be Penny's cousin, but this was dropped due to timeline confusion. November 1st is an important day in the Watterson family. It's none other than the anniversary of Richard and Nicole's wedding. The Watterson family either lives on a wrecking yard, or at least shares the same phone number as them, as seen on a missing poster, and an ad for the yard in both the Elmore residence and the Elmore wrecking yard is 555-0199. Calling a whole household can be awkward, so if you want to get in contact with Anais, then shoot her an email. Her email address is anais.watterson@elmore.com. She must be pretty important to have an official email. The handheld handheld game console that Richard gives Gumball called the Game Child is of course a play on the Game Boy. Surprisingly, the Game Child did exist in real life, and it was a knockoff of the famous Game Boy. Gumball's Game Child even has a knockoff game on it too. It's called Paradox of the Enemy Within, and the logo looks exactly like the one from Final Fantasy VII. Gumball is left-handed in early seasons, but switches hands depending on the animator. The only Elmore student with perfect attendance is Clayton. He shapeshifts into other students to boost his stats. Idaho's voice actor was chosen because his audition sounded like a homeschooled cowboy with anxiety. Carrie has the second most fourth wall breaks in the show, right behind Gumball. The creators of Gumball actually did a collab with Don't Hug Me I'm Scared in the episode called The Puppets. Puppet section in this episode took over 3 months to complete storyboarding, making the actual puppets and filming. That's over 3 months to make about 3 minutes worth of content. It's shown in The Burden. No matter how much hair Principal Brown waxes, it instantly grows back. Bobbert has transformed into combat mode at least 5 times. In The Robot, The Club, The Apology, and also in Gumball and Darwin's Imagination, in the episodes The Law and The Stories. Carrie doesn't sleep. Ghosts in the Gumball universe enter a trance loop, which is referred to in her dialogue. Gumball might be a bit afraid of fans of the show. In the episode The Catfish, Gumball swears to never search himself up on the internet again. He still has flashbacks of the very sus fan art. We find out that Principal Brown's degree is actually fake in the episode The Fraud. Sussy blinks asynchronously. One eye blinks before the other by exactly 0.15 seconds. Idaho's design includes several different potato species blended together. The character sheet labels him as a spud mutt. The episode The News had a big change after it initially aired. The news anchor was an actual human being, but he was later changed to be a puppet. This change wasn't because of a demand from Cartoon Network. Instead, it was because everyone on the staff wasn't a fan of the live-action actor, except Ben McClett. Masami's mother is the CEO of Weather Corporation, and she controls Elmore's climate off-screen. Anais has the highest known IQ in Elmore, which actually comes out to 256, and this is revealed on the second half of her report card in the IQ. Did you know that Principal Brown actually has some hidden secrets? In the episode The Grade, he reveals that he's apparently being hunted by the FBI. Also, Principal Brown may be a furry, but let's not dive into that one. While it's never made clear, Darwin refers to his parents by Mr. Dad and Mrs. Mom respectively. It could be that he's unsure about how they're his parents because he was initially their pet. In the episode The Origins Part 2, Richard insists that Darwin call him Dad, since before that, Darwin always called him Mr. Watterson. Instead, Darwin calls him Mr. Dad and sticks with that throughout his life. No parent would ever admit who their favorite child is, unless that parent is Richard. While Darwin isn't the biological son of Richard and Nicole, he's still Richard's favorite child. In The Robot, Bobbert is shown to be emotionless, but in The Mystery, he laughs at Principal Brown falling down the stairs, wrapping himself up in toilet paper, and falling into Gumball's locker. Darwin is a pretty talented fish. Did you know that he can grow his legs back on a whim? I mean, Darwin did start out with no legs, or lungs even, so it does make sense that he should just be able to grow them back. Right? I don't know if it's that deep, it's just a cartoon. In the episode The Lady, the 4 ladies are actually just guys in Elmore cosplaying as ladies, and all of these are references to the 4 girls from the Golden Girls. Darwin has said in the show that he's bald and can't seem to grow hair. However, it's possible for him to grow leg hair, which, I mean, that has gotta be a first in fish biology. Nicole's angry voice is layered with tiger growls in post-production to make it more intense. Banana Joe failed kindergarten 3 times, not because he was dumb, but because he couldn't sit still. Richard can't read cursive. This is revealed when he tries to interpret a birthday card in the signature. Some of the animation staff work second jobs in Elmore. Character designer Raphael has his signature on the $100 bill as Elmore's treasurer. Mick Graves wasn't left out either. In the episode The Best, a picture of Mick Graves can be seen briefly on Gumball's computer. Graves can also be seen on a sculpture as well. In the episode The Nuisance, Gumball pees on a piece of artwork that is signed by none other than Mick Graves. The episode The Singing might be one of the most ambitious episodes to date with all of the musical references. The opening song, sung by multiple characters, is a direct reference to Disney's Frozen called In Summer. Richard's love for food knows no bounds, which is why he sings the song I Love All My Food Fried. The song is a parody of Always on My Mind by Brenda Lee. Even planets can get sad, especially when it comes to losing their status of being a planet. Pluto's song The Hurt I Feel is a parody of Adele's Hello. There are a ton of characters in Gumball, but what's the highest number to appear in one episode? Well, 50 characters show up in The Singing. giving every other character a run for its money. Oddly enough though, the singing features almost every character except for two. My boy Gumball and Darwin. The two main characters aren't even around. While Darwin has been absent from other episodes, this marks the first time Gumball didn't appear, breaking his streak of 186 episodes. Gumball's prominent hips might not even be hips at all. He's had such bad posture while sitting that it's affected his growth, and his hips are just the rest of his torso, which didn't stretch out. The newest voice actor for Gumball is Nicholas Cantu, and he's already been nominated for playing Gumball. He was chosen at the Annies for outstanding achievements in voice acting. Between Gumball and Darwin, there have been 9 actors that have played these characters. Yeah, you know, puberty will do that. Every episode title is only 2 words. The blank. The shortest episode titles are the G and the X, which tie for the shortest at 5 letters each. There are Gumball fans everywhere, even in the White House. Press Secretary Sarah Sanders tweeted a photo of herself with a turkey, and on the screen you can see the end credits of a Gumball episode. We can only wonder if the White House staff has ever seen the episode The Nuisance, in which the mayor of Elmore bears an uncanny resemblance to Donald Trump. Richard can only use his brain in the most direst of situations. In fact, when he uses it in any capacity, he undergoes a Hulk-like transformation. Banana Joe's peel color changes slightly depending on the time of day, which happens to be a subtle lighting detail. Potatoes in Elmore can be seen as food, but also people. It's a little disturbing, especially for Elmore's resident potato, Idaho. Speaking of potatoes, Idaho doesn't seem to care that Darwin has a massive potato craving. Darwin learned English by watching soap operas and singing karaoke with Gumball. How wholesome. And finally, for the last fact, only 3% of you guys are subscribed to Gumball Universe. What are you doing? Lock in! We're almost at 100K! Come on, subscribe. Please, please, please subscribe. Please, please.